to Northern California. To understand the magic of this place, it starts right here at the Golden Gate Bridge. It's timeless, it's iconic, and it's a short drive from where we're headed. About 30 miles that way is Sonoma Raceway, a track that is cherished in American motorsports. It's a favorite of drivers, of fans, and it's where we kick off the 2026 GT World Challenge America powered by AWS season. Now, GT Racing brings together some of the biggest names in the automotive world. You've got Ford versus Ferrari, Corvette taking on last year's champions BMW, and the 2024 winners Porsche back in full force. Add in McLaren, Lamborghini, Mercedes-AMG, and you've got a filled stack of performance, pedigree, and plenty of pride on the line. This championship stretches across 7 rounds at some of the most iconic venues in the country. 6 of those races run 3 hours with 2 drivers sharing each car. And then it all builds to an 8-hour endurance finale under the lights at the racing capital of the world. Every race comes down to execution. Pit stops, driver changes, tires, fuel. It's an all full team effort where precision matters just as much as speed. And while we're here in California, this is just one part of a truly global stage. GT World Challenge spans Australia, Europe, Asia, and right here in the US. The 2026 season gets underway this weekend not only here, but also in Australia at Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. Asia kicks off at Sepang International Circuit, and Europe follows at Circuit Paul Ricard. And Europe really is where this category was born. Today, up to 70 cars and 10 manufacturers compete at legendary circuits like the Nürburgring, Monza Circuit, and of course, the iconic CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. And now that we've got that covered, let's head trackside and meet the voices of SRO America, Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine. Gentlemen.
Thanks, Amanda. Well, all of us are so excited. The 5-month off season has finally come to an end, and with so much new in 2026. New teams, new drivers, a new venue on the calendar this year, and most importantly, a new race format. The excitement level for a new season is at an all-time high.
It really is. I just love this start of the year, the anticipation. So many new faces in the paddock from the driver's standpoint. Some big moves as well from some of the major teams. Random Vandals Racing, who won the Pro Class last year, they moved to Pro-Am. 2-time Pro-Am champions Turner Motorsports, along with Justin Rothberg and Robbie Foley, they move up to the Pro Class. And you talked about it, the new format, 3 hours of racing solid on Sundays. It's going to be an awesome start to the year.
A little later on in the year, we'll have the return of an old classic, Road Atlanta, to the calendar. A lot of anticipation about that change, but it starts here at Sonoma. We've got a great view of the place outside of our window, but let's take a look at what makes this track so special. Sonoma International Raceway, what a great place this is. 2.5 miles around, Calvin, 12 turns, a real challenge and a driver's track.
It really is just a beautiful ribbon of asphalt here. 160 feet of elevation change with blind brows you'll see between turn 2 and the carousel in turn 6. Just relatively high grip, which really makes it a fun circuit to drive with a nice blend of both high and low speed turns. Takes a lot of commitment here, Ryan. There's certainly no napping in Napa if you want to be fast here, that's for sure.
Oh, it's a great place, a great venue to get the season started, and we cannot wait for the beginning of a brand new 2026 season. We are closing in on the start of the race, which means pre-race ceremonies are about to get underway. Let's take this opportunity to head down trackside as we honor the United States with the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in the air, gave proof through the night battle flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Local recording artist Maddie B with the national anthem at Sonoma Raceway as we get ready for the start of a brand new season. A lot of apprehension here, especially for the teams and drivers that are new to the championship, but even for returning drivers and teams like Turner and Robbie Foley. No one quite knows what to expect except about the challenge we're about to see around this racetrack.
Yeah, different qualifying format this morning, but it's all about this 3-hour race. How do the teams elect to carve up the cake here? 3 hours straight to really set us up for this lap, and how important is to nail it. Let's have a special ride around with the two-time champ, Robbie Foley.
Hey guys, I'm Robbie Foley, BMW Motorsport Works driver and driver of the number 29 Leda Creek Turner Motorsport M4 GT3 Evo here. Just rolling out of the pits here. Our pit box is towards the end and just getting to clear out. On the pit speed limiter, just releasing on the left side into turn 1. Turn 1's a super fast, high-speed committed corner. So we're headed under the bridge here, setting up on the left side for turn 2. A lot of elevation here at Sonoma. Going to try to just sneak by this Ferrari here on the outlap. Up to turn 3, just a light brake, trying to compromise to set up for 3A. And accelerating over the crest, it's blind, into turn 4, braking hard into second gear, trying to get a good exit. Up to third gear, fourth gear, ultimately just the top of fourth gear, headed into the carousel. And back down to third, kind of running the inside line, really downhill section here, trying to pick up the throttle, picking up fourth gear, up to fifth gear as we head down to turn 7. Big heavy brake zone down to second gear. I like to treat this as a one corner basically with 2 apexes. Into the first apex, down to second, running wide, and then coming back to the second apex, all about the exit here, trying to get a good exit. Into the S's here at Sonoma. In qualifying, just a lift in our car, trying to get back to throttle as early as you can, now down to the chicane. One of the good passing spots here. Very tight, slow chicane, second gear, hard braking, trailing the brake in, and we're kind of setting up for the next lap, getting a good exit, and into turn 10, which is flat out in our cars, and now into the last corner, turn 11, up to fifth gear, braking hard back down to second, trying to run the inside. It's a bit more grip there, and getting a good exit up to third gear, fourth gear, ultimately up to fifth before turn 1, and now they'll run a hot lap. Super quick turn 1 entry, down to fourth under the bridge, really committed. Third gear for turn 2, and there you go, that's a lap at Sonoma.
An amazing ride around Sonoma Raceway. A couple great vantage points. Big thanks to Robbie Foley and Turner Motorsport for giving us such great access and a first-hand look at what makes this such a challenging venue. All that elevation change, the high commitment it requires now with the repave that took place just a couple of years ago. It all comes together to make a spectacular 12-turn lap. Well, this is the start of the GT World Challenge America season, but the Global GT World Challenge is already underway. A couple of races down under in Australia at Phillip Island, and these are the global manufacturer points leaving those 2 races. Audi Sport by 10 points over Mercedes-AMG, Ferrari in third, McLaren and Lamborghini also scoring points, and all but Audi are represented on this grid here today. Part of a globe-trotting manufacturers championship for GT3 OEMs across 4 different GT World Challenge Continental Series. Well, you've heard from Amanda Busick already. Let's hear from her again as we get ready to turn these cars loose.
Sitting in the sun.
Hey Ryan, yeah, it's almost our time to get our racing started amongst this global series. And if you take a look at this grid, we have 5 different manufacturers in the first 3 rows as we kick off race number 1 here in Sonoma. This announcement of the 3-hour format came last year, and I just confirmed with the president of SRO, Greg Gill here in North America, that this is the largest regular season grid that we have seen since 2019. And leading that field to green will be a team back for the 2nd season together for JMF Motorsports, Mikkel Grenier and Mackay Stevens, who's behind the wheel of that Mercedes. And I'm sure the expectations are just as big. Milk, you guys were able to put it on the pole. What's the strategy here in Sonoma for a 3-hour race?
I can't tell you.
A little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's quite straightforward, especially if it's a green race, because we're limited with 15-minute stints, so it's 3 stops, 2 stints for both of us. We might go double stint or single stint, not sure yet, depending on how he feels in the first stint. But yeah, we're happy to be back together. Last year we came short a bit with 2nd place, so we're trying to go for the championship this year.
The sister car for JMF, driven by, will kick off by Lorcan Hannafin and Jason Daskalos. He was telling me that you guys have been a bit of a mentor for him this weekend. What do you expect of the sister car?
Yeah, I mean, I met him quickly last year. He did a great job, but I think this year he wanted to make another step. I think the team is doing a very good job with him. Also, we gave him a good car. Both cars are exactly the same, and we're there to help him, really. And he has a really good teammate as well, so it would be nice to win Pro and Pro-Am today.
Good luck today. And one of the stories that I loved as we kick off this season, the Dolomite Racing Ford Mustang came in this weekend to get acquainted with a new Evo package. They raced in the AM category last year, put it on row number 1 as we kick off race 1.
Yeah, it's a great story coming into this race for sure, to have the returning JMF duo on the pole, but this new duo for Dolomite Racing in the Pro class that will start outside. One of the many stories we'll be running through as we get ready to go. But Calvin, I thought it was interesting. Amanda asked Mick for some advice on the strategy. He says he couldn't tell her. It might be because no one really knows.
I know, just canvassed the paddock just now, and there's a couple little wrinkles in it we'll get into once we get into this 3-hour race. As Mick alluded to, there's the driver's stint there, 50 minutes max. You've got to do 75 minutes minimum drive time. So a couple of wrinkles there. How much fuel the cars have and the capacity and the range is going to be a big factor potentially on the strategy side.
It will be a journey into the unknown when the green flag comes out in just a few short minutes. But we're getting closer to that moment, what we've been building towards all pre-race. Back down to the grid for the command to start engines.
A very big weekend here in Sonoma that will punctuate with this GT World Challenge powered by AWS to give the command that all drivers are waiting to hear, Zach Nelson from Blizzard.
Hello, Sonoma Raceway! Drivers, start your engines!
The words we've been waiting to hear since October when 2025 season came to a close at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A new race format, new teams on the grid, defending champions moving up to different classes. Everything's been thrown for a loop, and it's as excited as the paddock has been in many a year because no one knows what to expect.
Yeah, certainly the anticipation is at an all-time high here with the new format. Many new faces on the grid, as we mentioned, some team switching classes, new manufacturers, and certainly some manufacturers like Ford have come out of the box really strong. Great qualifying performance for Dolomite Racing. They ran in the AM class yesterday, narrowly missed out on a championship. They moved up to Pro. Boy, oh boy, been really fast here this weekend with the new Evo kit on that Ford Mustang.
A massive year for GT3 racing here in the States, just a month and a half shy of the 20th anniversary of the first ever GT3 race, which was held in May 20-odd years ago at Silverstone Circuit. Look how far we've come now with championships in 4 different continents, the Globetrotting Intercontinental GT Challenge, and this North American Series, a big pillar of that, with points for the manufacturers scored here as it is across the globe. 3 hours on the clock, and we are inching closer to the first green flag of the season. The cars are out on this first formation lap here, Calvin. For the starting drivers, What are these moments like as you're about to embark upon a brand new season?
Well, there's so much build-up. I mean, some of these drivers didn't even get the nod that they're going to be competing here this year until a couple of weeks ago, so that trepidation has been short-lived for them. But for many others who knew they had a program, they're just waiting for this weekend, waiting to get into the practice session, see how your car's going to feel, how it's going to stack up. Then you've got to go out with a new qualifying format, which is combined between the two drivers. Unlike season past, you've got to work together as a group. You've got to compromise the race cars, so both of you go out there and get a really fast lap time. And now it's all about strategy. And even right now, I would be, if I was a team manager, I'd be telling these drivers, okay, get some energy into those tires, but try not to use as much fuel as you normally would, because that could be a critical factor, which we'll dig into a little bit deeper into this race.
That's the consensus up and down the paddock. How you manage your fuel could open up the window to make some strategic gambles, especially for those that don't have great track position. We've been on board with a couple of looks that we've got, some returning teams like Random Vandals, returning teams like Wright Motorsports, but with new drivers, and Therese Lalu at the front, though. Mackay Stevens, who won here in his GT3 debut 1 year ago, teamed up with Mick Grenier, who we heard from on the grid. And here we go, Sonoma Raceway, the start of a brand new season. Mackay Stevens, JMF Motorsports, starting from the pole position. They teamed up, Stevens and Michael Grenier, for the Rover Pole Award earlier today across a two-stage qualifying. But starting alongside will be Alex Sedgwick, a pro-class entry for the Ford Mustang for the first time in GT World Challenge America history. Dollarhide Racing makes that big step. JMF Motorsports expanding to 2 cars. They've got a Pro-Am entry now with Jason Daskalos, joined by the impressive youngster Lorcan Hannafin, a name that we'll be conjuring with all year long. AF Corsa joining the party in the Pro class. A new / returning team, depending on how you look at it, like McCann Racing. So many names to introduce you to over the course of the next 3 hours. This is how they'll line up for the first race of 2026. Pole position in the respective classes. JMF in Pro, JMF as well in Pro-Am, AF Corsa in the Am class. 2 Mercedes and a Ferrari, your Pro, Pro-Am, and Am class pole sitters. To the starting grid we go. Rover Pole Award overall to Michael Grenier and Mackay Stevens. They'll have Alex Sedgwick for company on row number 1. Then we go to the second row. Jason Daskalos, great effort from him in qualifying along with Lorcan Hannafin. They'll start third next to newcomer Matias Perez Compact. Todd Coleman, super quick in qualifying earlier today for Archangel. He'll have Michael McCann Jr. alongside. Welcome back to McCann Racing. Then it's JP Martinez for RS1, championship caliber team in years past here in GT World Challenge America. Justin Rothberg, 2-time and defending Pro-Am champ, now moving up to the Pro class. Bryton Williams, the Michigander, on his birthday for TR3 Racing, alongside Nikolai Elganian, moving up to GT3 after years at the GT4 level. Dave Musial Jr., another debutant for Wright Motorsports, next to the returning Derek DeBoer. Kyle Washington at GMG Racing. That car has shown pace. Didn't have a great qualifying effort, though. Todd Perriott for Kelly Moss will start behind him. Slade Stewart and Michael Clark in row number 8. To the 9th row, that's where you'll find Therese Lalu and the Am-Class pole sitter Chase Schreifen. Ross West will not take the start here today. It's an 18-car field for the first race of the season. In just a few short moments, the green flag will wave above Sonoma Raceway, and it's Rick Alvarez, guest of Data Dome, who has the honors to get a brand new season started. Field in perfect alignment in the Northern California sunshine. We've waited 5 months for this, but the wait is just about over. Stevens and Sedgwick on the front row. Then it's Daskalos and Kompank in row number 2. Coleman and McCann in row 3 as the green flag waves on a brand new season of GT World Challenge America. On the break, up the hill, it's still side by side. Sedgwick challenging to the outside of Stevens, but they get settled in as they crest the hill. Daskalos holds on to 3rd overall, leading in Pro-Am.
A little bit of a rub there, middle of the pack, a little bit of argy-bargy. What a start there by the Dollarhide Racing Ford Mustang. Alex Sedgwick wanted the lead, but Stevens just hung on there from the pole.
These two raced against each other last year, but for Sedgwick, he was doing it aboard a Porsche. This is his first ever start in a Ford Mustang, and he's making it count. Oh, look at his battle further back. The Lamborghini of Chicago Performance and Tuning up against the Random Vandals BMW, Derek DeBoer, his first start aboard a BMW M4 GT3, and he's giving it a pretty good run, but coming under threat here out of the carousel.
Yeah, I spoke to Derek just a few minutes ago before the off. He's so excited to be back in this SRO paddock, teamed up with the championship-winning team from last year, Random Vandals Racing. He's got an awesome teammate in Hampus Eriksson. They're going to make some waves this season.
Already a big day for the Eriksson family. Brother Marcus racing in the IndyCar Series. They had their race at Barber Motorsports Park, and I'm sure Marcus is tuned in watching younger brother race here in Sonoma. Through the chicane for the first time at speed, Stevens starting to edge away from Sedgwick, but behind, Daskalos falling into the crosshairs of Matthias Perez-Kompank.
JMF lead both classes, Pro and Pro-Am right now. AF course a lead in Am, of course. Tires will start to come into this sweet spot now. 2 or 3 laps under their belt. The drivers will start to feel that Pirelli P0 grip and really start to attack this racetrack.
The soundtrack of GT3 racing. So many different brands involved at this level, but at the front it is Mercedes showing the way with the Coyote V8 powered Ford Mustang behind. This is going to be an interesting dynamic here at the beginning of these races, Calvin. You've got a great starting position for one of the Pro-Am class cars. He's not in a battle there necessarily for class position with Perez-Kompank, but Matthias will want to clear this Mercedes as quick as possible so he can get into a fight with his class leaders, Stevens and Sedgwick.
Yeah, so important that Am, or the lower rated driver, the silver rated driver, Perez-Kompank, kind of sets the table for Freddie Shandorf. He is dynamite behind the wheel of this Ferrari, and he's going to be one of the challengers for the title this year, but he can't afford to pick up a big deficit. Stevens and Sedgwick up front have got a healthy lead so early in this race.
Just behind this pair, there's another squabble breaking out. Todd Coleman, second place in Pro-Am. That's the McLaren from Archangel Motorsports, has Michael McCann Jr. in tow. Red and white Porsche 911 closing in on the papaya, blue and green McLaren.
Spoke to Aaron Tielitz this morning as well. I said, guys seem to be in great shape. Just the balance of performance in your favor this year. He said, we haven't done anything. We just changed the motor. I think last year we were dealing with a motor that wasn't up to speed, and now we've suddenly been re-energized here with that fresh motor on board. Todd is doing a great job. He's got a lot of confidence going. And of course, we now have a notebook to work with as well with this McLaren every time we visit a circuit.
He's been confident all weekend long. Looking for a podium for the first time in his GT World Challenge America career. Came close a couple of times last year, but settling into a nice rhythm. They're starting to bottle up behind him, though. McCann now has company in the form of Rothberg, who has cleared some of the out-of-class traffic to get to the next car in the Pro class.
Yeah, it's going to be really important to control this. And again, if you can control your fuel a little bit, that does give you some options. So you want to be on the attack. You have amped up because it's the start of a championship year, but really nice control start here for everyone.
Here's the plunge down the hill. This long duration sweeping carousel corner throws a lot at you technically because you've got the downhill aspect of it. You lose some camber as you go throughout that corner. Really challenging part of the racetrack.
Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. We talk about that elevation change. Once you get to the bottom, that really flattens out here for the next half a lap or so, but equally challenging in terms of the switchbacks through this high-speed sector here. About 105 right there as we look at the cars coming through, little lift, then back on the power up to about 145 miles an hour before you arrest that speed one more time here for turn 9.
Daskalos in the Mercedes, black with the red trim, just behind Matthias Perez-Kompank in the blue Ferrari. Then it's Coleman, McCann, and Rothberg. Big season for Justin Rothberg, coming off back-to-back Pro-Am class championships, moving up to the pro ranks for the first time, and we'll see how he responds to the challenge.
Yeah, he's got a great teammate and mentor in Robbie Foley. They've had so much success together. Justin won the GT America Championship last year. 14 victories combined, so a lot of confidence going into the off-season. But during the off-season, Justin Rothberg didn't drive a race car, so he arrived here this weekend kind of rusty, but he did the same thing last year. It didn't seem to affect his championship potential, that's for sure.
But the challenge has grown, moving up a class. It's a more competitive pro class than it was a year ago as well. And what's interesting is 5 cars in the class, 5 different manufacturers represented as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting that in a 5-class field you got 5 different manufacturers. So that's going to be cool to watch that evolve over the season. Rothberg kind of looking down at the inside of McCann there on that brake zone down into turn 4. Coleman's doing a nice job. This is going to be the key, the consistency, not making that little mistake, just really hitting your marks with a lot of pressure from behind. You can see the lights flashing there from behind from McCann Jr., just trying to rattle Coleman a little bit, maybe open up that door.
Toddy is soaking up that pressure in the form of McCann. McCann, though, has every reason to push the issue here. Rothberg has closed in. Different parts of the track, it seems like the Porsche is a bit more stout. Then the BMW closes in once again. And it should be noted there was a slight change to the balance of performance in the build-up to the race today.
Yeah, both the Porsche and the Mercedes got 10 kilograms added, about 22 pounds added to their minimum weight, so that will affect things a little bit in terms of the lap performance, but also tire degradation a little bit if you do end up doing a very long green flag run, which we anticipate here today at least 3 times.
And that change came after the qualifying session this morning and ahead of the race here this afternoon, so everyone adapting to that on the fly. 6.5 minutes gone in our first race of the season, and the race settling into a bit of a rhythm. Stevens from Sedgwick by 0.8 of a second. Then it's about 10 seconds further back to Jason Daskalos in third, holding off Matthias Perez-Compaq and Todd Coleman. If we drop a little further down, though, you'll bump into this fight here. Therese Lalu, newcomer to the championship, doing battle with Michael Clark. A couple of drivers that graduated along the Porsche pyramid from Porsche Sprint Challenge up into GT3 for the first time this weekend.
Yeah, this is a big step for Therese, but she's really been flawless this weekend so far. Hasn't made any mistakes. Big learning curve. She's got a great teammate in Thomas Merrill, though. He will teach her the ropes and get her up to speed throughout the course of this season. But a great opportunity for the young lady.
Thomas was super quick in that car in his section of qualifying earlier today. And for Michael Clark, he brings along some star power too. His co-driver is Colin Brown. We'll be introducing you to these driver lineups as we go throughout the race here today. But take our word for it, when we get to the second half of the race and the pros are in all the Pro-Am cars, the stars will jump off the screen. I mean, we've got some of the best GT drivers on the continent and from further afield for that matter here in Sonoma this weekend.
Yeah, this is going to get really spicy as this race unfolds and you get all the pros in at the end. Got some of the best GT3 pilots in the world here competing for this championship, so it's going to be fun.
Love seeing this in Sector 2, according to Race Vision, powered by AWS. 5 different OEMs in the top 5 Sector 2 times here in the early stages of this race. And I'd like to give a call in particular to Nikolai Elganian, new to GT3 racing and immediately on the pace.
Yeah, that's a big step up for him, and we've got a new nickname for him. We used to say he looked like Danny Ricciardo, so we're going to call him Danny Nick this year. He's always got a big, bright smile, enjoys his racing. Great team and a really solid teammate in Mads Siljehaug.
Yeah, exactly so. Stalwart at the GT4 level, both of them for that matter. But getting a chance to see what they're made of, and they've got that beautiful Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2. Yes, there is the new Temerario racing globally, but Lamborghini still supporting their Huracan customers, including here in the US. Got to love the sound of that Lamborghini as it comes by. Meantime, let's check in with the biggest mover of the race so far, Slade Stewart. Welcome back to Riley Motorsports in a full-time capacity, this time running a BMW. And you won't miss this livery, will you?
I asked Bill Riley this morning, I said, you ever run a pink race car before, Bill? And he had to think about it, and he said, no, I think this is the first time. So I was giving him a little bit of ribbing about that, but forget the color. He can dial in a race car, whether it's a BMW, a Porsche, or whatever it may be. Bill Riley, so much success with that race team, and they got a really good, solid driver pairing. Great to see Andy Lee back. He actually drove this car, started the year with Flying Lizard last year alongside Elias Sabo, and unfortunately for Elias, he had to take off from racing for a little bit, temporary, we hope. Oh, that was tight! Gets into the back, 2 BMWs come together.
Secondary contact sends the second car around and immediately full course yellow. That's Derek DeBoer in the Random Vandals car who is stuck there in the line of fire. And Slade Stewart, who we were just talking about, just tagged the back of the Vandals BMW. Both cars suffering significant damage.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he just missed his braking mark. When you're running close to behind someone, you lose a little bit of downforce, whether he just activated the ABS, which kind of numbs the braking system a little bit, so you don't lock up a tire. Let's take another look at it here. Yeah, just misjudges that. Unfortunately, 2 BMWs involved, both getting rear end damage, and a little bit of front as well when he initially hit him.
Neither have been able to leave the accident scene just yet. Safety car deployed for the first time in 2026 with Mackay Stevens leading the way.
Curious to see once pit lane opens whether anyone takes the opportunity to come in and reset their driver's stint length, which is 50 minutes maximum. That'll just give you a little bit of flexibility strategy-wise. Also going to get a little bit of fuel save. So a lot of people have been talking about if you can get to 75 or 80 minutes without having to take a full refuel stop. If you stop on pit lane and refuel, you got to be on pit lane for 85 seconds minimum. If you're just driving through or resetting the driver's stint length, there is no minimum time on pit lane, so that's the game that they're playing here today.
You could even change tires or make repairs. As long as you don't put fuel in the car, you're not subject to that 85-second pit lane minimum. Good to see De Boer able to drive away, and he was so excited about this opportunity, the chance to return to this paddock. Looks like some diffuser damage in addition to the bodywork that's off the back of that BMW.
Yeah, a lot of cosmetic, obviously, at speed, whether that starts to come apart even further. Good news is the rear wing looks to be intact.
This is from
here with Derek when he gets attacked, basically.
I
Don't think that was
hit.
intentional by Slater.
No.
It wasn't like he was trying to pass him. He just misjudged it or missed the brake a little bit, got into the ABS, something like that.
It seemed like it was the second hit that actually did the bulk of the damage, too. And you're right, you hate to see that between two BMWs. That's two bullets out of the chamber, potentially, depending on the extent of the damage for the two cars. We got a glimpse as well a few moments ago of Andy Lee taking a peek over the pit wall to see if he could ascertain the state of his car, but I don't think he's going to like what he sees when it does make its way into the pits. Should mention, while most of the field falls in either the Pro or Pro-Am classes, there is an Am class entry here this weekend, more expected as soon as the subsequent round at Circuit of the Americas. But Jay Schreibman gets the call to start the race for AF Corsa, and it's the veteran Oz Negri that will be climbing aboard once the drive time has been taken care of. And Slade Stewart still stopped on the track. Let's get more on the story now with Amanda.
Yeah, and Ryan, as you were talking about Slade Stewart making so many moves here today, we were making our way down to talk to Andy Lee, and he was getting off at the top of that pit box to talk to us when that accident happened. What can you tell us about the sparkle farts?
It doesn't look like we'll be able to continue. It's unfortunate because Slade was just having such a great drive to start the race off. But you know, that's just the way it goes sometimes. So we'll be ready for the next one, I suppose.
I don't think I'll ever get tired of saying sparkle farts, but I know you guys are doing a livery challenge here this season. What can you tell us about this? What's going on?
So all of our hero cards on the backside is a blank BMW for the fans to color in and make up their best livery, or they can go to the website and download one and draw it and then submit it back to the website. We're going to select our favorite 5, and then we're going to put that back to the fans to pick the best that'll go on the car for the 8 hours of Indy at the end of the year.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate the time. And guys, I did hear that those submissions have to be in by Barber. And as I was talking to Slade Stewart earlier about this program, a little girl along with Mamo Gidley stopped by for a unicorn.
And why not? Yeah, fan favorite livery has been for a number of years. Slade has come from Lamborghini Super Trofeo, where he's won a championship in the LB Cup class back in 2022, but making the step into GT World Challenge for the first time. Here we go. Strategy dominoes starting to fall here, Cal.
Yeah, and essentially by stopping now, you're going to reset that driver's stint length. To do so, you need to come to your pit box, turn the engine off, turn it back on, and you can release the car and head back out. So no minimum time on pit lane when you do that. What the teams are trying to do is to get to that 75, 80 minute mark in this race without taking fuel. So this will give them that opportunity because they'll extend that stint length. So we're 15 minutes in, so that gets you to 75 right now. And also with the full course yellow, you're getting fuel save at the same time to be able to do that on fuel.
They're not just resetting the time, they're going to go ahead and top off as well.
They're topping off, so this is a...
Oh, that was random vandals, it should be noted. This is, well, actually both teams are electing to do that. Suppose you're giving up the track position anyway, might as well go ahead and put some fuel in the tank.
Yeah, and as it's under yellow, you're just going to close back up to the pack.
It's worth noting that you do not get a class split in GT World Challenge America, so the track position lost to the other classes, that's something they'll have to overcome, but Turner electing to roll the dice, Amanda.
Yeah, I'm down over by Random Vandals Racing. I was just talking to Paul Sparta, who's now actually talking to Andy Lee. Derek DeBoer made it here to pit road, took some fuel into that BMW. Paul Sparta said they are beyond lucky. They believe it's just body damage, a little bit on the diffuser that they did some work, and Derek DeBoer is back on track.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, we got a good look at that diffuser, and they have fastened it with some kind of a zip tie or strap, it looked like, to try and hold it in place. Probably not the ideal set of circumstances, but hopefully enough to at least keep it secured, and that's an important component to one of these modern GT3 cars, Calvin. You can see the red strap there, right-hand side, to try and hold that piece in place. So much downforce is created from the underside of these cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be the biggest bone of contention there, whether that piece can stay in place. It's flapping around pretty heavily despite that strap there. Both of the teams are right on the money in terms of that minimum stop time, that 85 seconds. So they've certainly got all their software and that dialed in.
What do you make of the call, not just to come in, but to top off?
It makes sense because you're not losing a lot of track position. If you're coming in, you're going to go to the back anyway, so why not top off? So that's kind of a freebie when you're behind the safety car.
As we've been talking about, these new regulations are there for everybody to try and adapt to here this year. 3-hour race, 50-minute max stint. That can be reset by coming into the pits, turning the engine off, and turning it back on. Total drive time limits at 75 minutes, and the fuel stop, if you take fuel from pit in to pit out, must be 85 seconds. 2 cars rolling the dice here early. Everybody else stayed out, and we're about to go back to racing here as the safety car peels off, and it's Mackay Stevens leaving Alex Sedgwick to the green flag here at Sonoma with 2 hours, 42 minutes to go.
So Sedgwick looks pretty impressive there in that climb up the hill. Both drivers run a little bit wide there. They don't have full tire temperature right now, and they had to get those tires cleaned off running around behind the safety car there, but the tires are still really good. Don't have many miles on these. Got 4 sets of tires to work through qualifying and the race here this weekend, so there's a little bit of a strategy there. Some teams electing to use 2 sets in qualifying this morning, some electing to just go with 1 and having more to work with in the race conditions.
Sedgwick seems really comfortable attacking right away, starts and restarts in this Mustang. He told me they had done minimal testing with the car before showing up here at Sonoma. Compare that to Mackay Stevens, who drove that Mercedes for an entire season last year, and Sedgwick is right on his pace right away.
Yes, only bodes well for the future, and we head off to their home track circuit, the America for Dollar Height Racing next. So really great driver lineup. Oh, look at this McCann. Look to the inside there on Todd Coleman. That's only going to be some chaos if he tried to push through there. Todd was heading for the apex.
Battle behind them between the Mercedes of Brayton Williams and Nikolai Elganian, I think, in the Lamborghini. Elganian ahead of Williams now and closing up on the back bumper of JP Martinez. That's for 7th overall. Oh, McCann lost momentum there coming out of the chicane, and Martinez might have made some contact front to rear.
That was really close. If they didn't touch, they were awfully close. And Elganian there just trying to sit in the shadows there, seeing if there's an opportunity on these 2 Porsches battling out in front of him.
Tough balance to strike here for the likes of Martinez, trying to figure out how aggressive does he want to be with a pro class car in McCann. But it's a greater sense of urgency now that Nikolai Elganian has arrived on the scene. That is for class position.
Yeah, this is a fun racetrack, but when you're following a car closely behind as you crest some of these hills here, particularly this next one, you can't see the road. And then when you've got that car in front of you, that big rear wing, you're basically driving blind and by memory and just trying to feel the racetrack almost like Braille and know that you're in the right spot when you commit back to the power.
Martinez will have the veteran Jan Halen to supplement his driving here today. Right now, focusing on the Liqui Lamborghini, Nikolai Elganian closing in, coming through the carousel.
A fast piece of the racetrack here, about 135 before you get back to the brake pedal here for turn 7. Double apexer, as Robbie Foley described on that awesome look at this circuit at the start of the show. 2nd gear through there, then winding up flat out, and then a little breathe right here just to settle the nose in, and then back on the power.
And the run down to this chicane, really tight. A lot of curb you can use up. Tire barrier there at the apex of the first leg of the chicane. That's to keep drivers from abusing that. So far, that's not been a trouble spot, but you do wonder over 3 hours if that tire bundle might get in the crosshairs.
Gaining looks racy there in that Lamborghini. Look for a way by Martinez. Both cars running in the Pro-Am class. McCann ahead of them is in the Pro class, of course. He sits fourth in class with Rothberg electing to take that pit stop opportunity under yellow, so he's dropped down the order considerably, but they got some more strategy options. They got Don Salama in the box. That's the Iceman, as we call him. Great strategist, renowned for really getting victories from nowhere on occasion.
And to look at that Turner team as one of the handful that might try and do something a little bit different with the brain trust they've got sitting on top of the box. Battle heating up at the back of this pack. Kyle Washington has moved up a few more spots, and he's now reeling in his next target. That's Dave Musial Jr., or Dave 2.0, as he likes to be called. Points out that he and his father don't have the same middle name, so technically not a senior and a junior. We saw Dave 1.0 in GT America earlier today and had a really good run.
And Kyle had a really nice run in GT America this morning, finishing second, and kind of a strange weekend. The potential is there. He ran some really fast laps, didn't have a great qualifying run here this morning, and then went out and went even faster in the GT America car. So the pace is there in that GMG Porsche. Tom Sargent was blindingly fast on his qualifying segment. If they can get this car and keep it clean and hand over Tom Sargent, he could really make something happen here. Have a big day for GMG. Kyle's mother is here in attendance. Doesn't get to many races, but she's here this weekend. They'd love to celebrate together.
Certainly would. Right now, Kyle up to 7th in the class, 11th overall. Derek DeBoer, curious what the status of that car is with the damage at the back right now. He's right behind another BMW. That would be the Turner car, Justin Rothberg.
The diffuser really gives a lot of rear grip to these race cars, keeps it really stable. So when it's bouncing around like that, we can end up with this inconsistent downforce, which for a driver will give you absolute fits. Derek, I think, has learned so much with those couple of years that he's just come back from, and competing in the World Endurance Championship last year, ran at Le Mans, ran in the ELMS Championship the year before, so I think he's come back with a lot more experience underneath his belt now, and has always been a really solid, quick driver, but I think that experience is going to help in situations like this. Just he's able to stay calm, not panic, and just get on with the program.
So too is his comfort level with the BMW. This is his first year driving the BMW M4, but early returns, he said, have been very, very pleasant. Enjoying the experience up to this point. On board with the race leader, Mackay Stevens. He's building a gap now, 1.7 seconds to the good over the chasing Alex Sedgwick. Down into super tight hairpin, turn 11, final true turn on the course. There's this left-handed bend, turn 12 still to come, but in a GT3 car, that's flat, and you don't have to think too hard about it. Across the line for Stevens, let's check the gap. It's come down slightly. Sedgwick getting into a rhythm from 1.8, it's down to 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, Sedgwick is keeping him honest. That Ford really seems to have a lot of pace here this weekend, so it's really exciting for that relatively young team making that move up to GT3 competition last year. Scott Dollarhite, who competed last year aboard the car for his father's team, said, I hope to be back this year in some form or another, maybe GT America, so that'd be exciting to see him back. But right now, he's playing the role of team manager and doing it in a really nice way.
And his co-driver for much of the season last year, Eric Powell, just shot me a text message saying, go Dollarhite Racing. Eric's got a big program this year in the Ford camp. He'll be running the World Endurance Championship this year. Best of luck to you, Eric. Great to have you tuned in.
Yeah, well, I think he's very thankful for that team for giving him that opportunity and getting that call up from Ford to compete as the bronze-rated driver over in the World Endurance Championship, and that can really make a huge difference in a driver lineup when you got someone with the speed of Eric Powell as a bronze-rated driver. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do for this season.
Todd Coleman with his mirrors full of Michael McCann Jr. Two cars from different classes. Just behind McCann, though, is Martinez, and then Nikolai Elganian.
Todd got in there a little bit deep. You'd see the car squirming around a little bit. Probably got in the ABS, missed his mark by just a little bit. It doesn't take much. And that can rally you. You suddenly got that Porsche right behind you, just trying to scramble and get to the apex.
Since maybe McCann's getting a bit frustrated or anxious at least to get by the out-of-class car, Matías Pérez-Compán is starting to disappear up the road. And this battle here is not for class position, McLaren versus Porsche. However, it's important to get that traffic cleared as quickly as possible so you don't lose touch with the rest of the class.
And for Coleman, he wants to try and stay ahead of this pack. He doesn't want to just wave them by even though they're out of class, because he's got Martinez, Algany, and everyone sitting there, and he's also trying to stay in touch with Jason Daskelos, who continues to lead for JMF in the Pro-Am category. He's now got about 3.5 seconds gap back to Todd Coleman.
Again, that Lamborghini at the back of this pack. It's a first time we've seen the Chicago Performance and Tuning Company racing a GT World Challenge America. Took over Nikolai's Pirelli GT4 America program last year. Got, problems here for Williams, who spun at the exit of the carousel.
Tire marks there a little bit higher in the carousel. I'm not sure if they've come from him. Obviously had a lot of races here this weekend with incidents. Not sure if he got tipped around or whether he just dropped the right side wheel there as he's coming around that corner. If you run the cushion, you run that risk. It's a little bit dusty offline as well.
Comes from club racing. He's done some racing at BMW, Spec Racer Ford. But this is a big step for him into GT3. Here's a look at what befell the Michigander, celebrating a birthday today.
You see it just got a little bit wide. It's so tricky. If you crest that brown, you're just getting a little bit too deep. You're kind of out in no man's land. You're scrambling for grip. And then when that right rear gets out in the dirt, you're going to go for a loop like that.
Drops him to the back of the pack in terms of the cars that are still running. Slade Stewart out of the race. Ross West did not start. That was part of the team's plan. They were using GT World Challenge America to prepare through the practice sessions for their focus this year at GT America. 18 cars took the green flag. We're down one effectively with the issue early on between Slade Stewart and Derek DeBoer. Derek's been able to continue on. Here is the young Argentinian, Matías Pérez-Compán. That name should be familiar to sports car racing fans. They've been involved in several different types of racing actually over the years, but Matías did a handful of GT3 races last year. He did some LMP2 racing in IMSA as well, but putting his focus this year on GT World Challenge America, and he's got a lot of help behind him in AF Corsa.
He certainly does. They're a stellar team, and he's got an awesome team. I'm going to be really curious to see what they can achieve this year. Look at this. This is tight here. Martinez down to the inside on McCann Jr. finally, but McCann gets the run off of turn 9. An acceleration run. Nikolai Algany just sitting there looking for an opportunity.
Here comes Algany, looking left, looking right. McCann trying to get this position back. This is disastrous for him as he's now falling even further out of touch with Compán, the third place car in his class. And it's excellent news for Todd Coleman, who suddenly finds himself under no pressure whatsoever.
He'll be loving that. Maybe he can hit his marks now and won't feel that pressure like we saw that little bobble into the turn 9 braking zone a couple of laps ago.
Williams has made it back around, but is in the pit lane. Might be a story to follow up on. Was it simply a spin, or could there have been something else amiss? TR3 Racing will take a look at that car.
And that's a car that was previously owned by Petey Cunningham and the Real Time Racing Group. Competed with Anthony Bartone with that chassis, and that moved cams during the off-season.
Back to the front of the field, 30 minutes in. So closing in on the end of the first stint. Let's go down to Amanda.
Hey guys, yeah, let's start talking some strategy out here. I just catched Cameron Lawrence about to put your driver helmet on. So what are you guys, how do you break down this one?
We're happy doing single stints all day. Alex and I have been very similar in pace, so we don't think there's a big advantage to kind of wearing one driver out. We'd rather kind of keep each other fresh and open up options for later in the race. So, you know, there's a scenario where maybe I do a double in the middle and let Alex finish again, but first round, you know, first time, new team, new drivers for us. Alex doing a great job just mirroring the Mercedes, and that's kind of our goal. It's just hang with the guys up front. You know, if we need to do what they do to finish up there with them, that's what we'll do. But we're learning. We're just going to take it easy and no big risks here.
The countdown is on, and I was also talking to Cameron. They're having a little bit of discomfort with the seating inside that Ford Mustang as well. So Alex Sedgwick happy to get out and put Cameron Lawrence behind the wheel.
Well, that certainly adds to the problems that you have in the cockpit, where it can get really toasty, even though we've got, you know, beautiful Chamber of Commerce weather here. These low 80s are not what you normally expect here at Sonoma this early in the season. So maybe the teams weren't prepped for that, but they're two really fit young drivers. They're like athletes. They're in the gym all the time prepping for that. But if you've got any sort of difficulty with that seating position, that will wear you out in a hurry. So maybe that's why they've elected to maybe go with this single stint option.
Sedgwick falling back a little bit, 3.5 seconds behind this car. Mackay Stevens has the fastest lap of the race. It's a 1:35.233, but Sedgwick just did that car's best first sector. Compares favorably to Stevens through sector 1 on this lap, if only by a little bit. Just in the background of our shot a moment ago, it looked like Elganian might have been wide at the exit of the carousel. A lot of dust up in the air, but everyone able to continue on.
Suddenly Martinez has cleared McCann Jr. a little bit, focused forward now on Coleman, so that will be a battle for P2 in the Pro-Am division. Another little bit cleaner air on the nose of that Porsche, but that's going to go away as soon as he gets close to that McLaren in front of him, of course. Sometimes you find the car handles differently depending on what brand of race car you're following. Just the aero wake is different off of different race cars, so you sometimes feel a little nuance to that as well.
The car that it looks like has come to the pits, Therese Lalu for Wright Motorsports, showing us on an outlap right now. Wonder if that's a strategic call or if there's more to it. Brayton Williams still in the pit lane, and he's been there for the better part of 4 laps now.
Well, I think if you do that, you can then do one more 50-minute stint and get that driver out, and then you can do it on one more stop to the finish. So there's kind of back timing this race, which happens right about now, kind of 30 minutes in. And then you cut it up. So if you look at 3 50-minute stints and you forget about time on pit lane, that leaves 30 on the other end. So once you're about the 30-minute mark, that then opens up that opportunity.
That's what Amanda thinks is happening down there at Wright Motorsports. Stopped in the box, turned the car off, right back on, and that's enough to reset the stint time.
Yeah, and then the key is with that little bit of yellow, can you now stretch it on fuel to get to that 80-minute mark and maximize this next 50 minutes of the race? Coleman here, navigating turn 7. Got clean air on the front of that McLaren, so it's going to work well. But there we see the 8 car suddenly tuck in and get by Martinez. So even though they're different classes, they're having an awesome battle here today in Sonoma.
I think they would have seen each other in Carrera Cup in years past in different classes there too. But you know what? It's cool to see so many drivers making that graduation up to GT3 this year, and a lot seem to be coming out of Porsche single make racing for whatever reason. I think we had a chance to get an update on some of the strategy as it plays out down in the pits. Let's go back to Amanda.
Yeah, let's check into a Pro-Am team right now to see what the strategies are for these guys. What's the situation for Todd?
So for Todd, he's doing a double right off the bat. So he's doing a great job out there right now. It's hot here today in Sonoma. It's the hottest it's been all weekend. So he's just trying to conserve his energy, conserve his tires, take care of the car, and get 2 clean stints right away with.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yep, thanks.
And I think they may elect to do like 2 full stints, take some tires, let Todd kind of, because he got good pace, and then they can work a little bit of magic on the backside. They think there's a way, an opportunity where they can save a full fuel stop at the end if they're getting good fuel mileage with that McLaren. So some people are doing it on the front end. Other teams are going to like to do what we saw with the Wright Motorsports car on the back end, where you're able to do a stop and not take fuel.
And if you're one of these Pro-Am teams like Archangel here, where you're less experienced driver, your bronze driver is really on it on a weekend, that opens up a lot of strategic options for you.
Oh, it certainly does. And for JMF, who are running up front when you got 2 drivers so evenly matched. Same thing with Dollar Height this year with Sedgwick and Cameron Lawrence. I mean, that means there's no compromise. Whoever's behind the wheel, you're just looking at the numbers and you can carve it up however you want, versus thinking, well, if I put this driver in now, we're going to lose half a second lap or a second lap or more in some cases. So that really compromises your strategy when you have that situation.
Well, you heard exactly to your point from the the Dollarhide pits, when we talk to Cameron Lawrence, they feel like their pace is equitable no matter who is in the car, so they can play this any which way without losing any potential pace with the decisions that they're making. This field has caught Todd Coleman here, as Dave Musial now is in the pits. Would be curious if this is a similar situation, just resetting the pit timer, or if perhaps they're taking service. I suspect it's the former. But Coleman once again with his mirrors full. This is the hard-charging Michael McCann. Now that he separated himself from that battle with Martinez, he can hopefully focus his way forward just on getting around Coleman, and hopefully then starting to reel in Matías Pérez-Compang.
I think for Coleman, though, I mean, this little trio has sat behind him for so many laps now. That builds you confidence. It's like, you know what, doing what I'm doing. I'm not opening up the door. There's been no opportunity, so just continue to hit my marks. And that may be enough to keep this track position, which would be awesome for Aaron Telitz. He looked a pretty happy camper when Amanda was talking to him just now.
Amanda sending us a note. Musial also just resetting the stint time. Not a surprise, that's a sister car to Therese Lalou's car, both out of the Wright Motorsports stable. Right back on the headlight flashers for Michael McCann Jr. Anything he can do to get into the head of Todd Coleman, but easier said than done, it would appear.
Look at this. He's getting really defensive there. That really compromises your entry there. You're going to be slow off because you've got a lot more steering input needed to make that second cut there through that chicane.
Just wonder if these guys tripping over each other, if that opens up the door for Elgany, and he might have the same thought there, smelling blood in the water, but elects not to force the issue that time.
Sometimes you don't need to almost sit back and then take another little run here. You end up being in the same cadence as the car in front of you, so where you may have a little advantage, they're kind of taking it away from you rather than kind of running up on someone and having a bit more entry speed through one of the corners, a bit more rolling speed, or maybe just simply the gear ratio that you have with your brand is a little better than the other and suits a certain part of the racetrack. So sometimes when you're right there, you kind of settle into what the driver's doing in front of you, and if you're out by yourself, there's 3 or 4 tenths there to be had.
A few others trickling into the pit lane. Todd Perriott, haven't talked about him yet. Newcomer to the championship. Finished second in the Masters class in Carrera Cup North America last year, driving for Kelly Moss, and it's with the Minnesota-based team, that Wisconsin-based team. That team makes the jump up to GT3 here this year. Look at sector times through Sector 1. Sedgwick, Stevens, Elganian again. McCann and Daskalos. Keep seeing Elganian's name on these fastest sector time charts. Maybe if he could get some track position, or at least some clean air, could be some pace in hand in that Lamborghini.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier, is like you got him sitting there and he looks really pacey, but he can't go anywhere with it because he's kind of running the same cadence as the 2 Porsches in front. And you're seeing that, Ryan, with the sector times that he's turning.
The Perriott pit stop, by the way, that was simply to reset the stint timer as well, just in the pits for 51 seconds. Have to be in for 85 if you take fuel.
Yeah, so traversing pit lane is about 45 seconds, so by stopping the car and turning it off, turning it back on is costing, seems like it's between 6 to 9 seconds right now on everyone who's done that so far.
Getting close to the maximum stint time as well. 50 minutes by regulation for any single stint.
Yeah, so with 2 hours, 10 minutes left on the clock that you see in the top corner. Anyone who hasn't hit pit lane yet will need to come down.
That was a look moments ago at Cameron Lawrence getting prepared. He has that helmet on, preparing to climb aboard this Mustang. What a difference a year makes for Dollarhide Racing. Last year it was their debut in GT World Challenge America, and it was not a straightforward weekend. A couple of penalties. It seemed like they were adapting to racing at this level, getting used to procedures, things like that. But by the end of the year, they had things rolling in the M class. And I think a lot of eyes were opened when it was announced they'd be here with a pro class entry. Would they be up for the challenge? Well, they've been answering that with an emphatic yes to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was really impressive to watch from the beginning of the year, just even their appearance in the paddock and how together they seemed. They just made huge strides, ended up really challenging for that AM Championship on the back of 6 victories. Didn't go their way at Indy, but nonetheless, super impressive performance and nice progression for Bill Dollarhide and that whole organization.
How about this recovery from Derek DeBoer? That's the car that picked up the damage and the contact earlier with Slade Stewart, and yet he's been able to keep pace with Justin Rothberg, the two of them around Michael Clark recently, and DeBoer looking a bit threatening there, taking a peek to the inside.
He knows this racetrack well, used to run with the Racers Group. This was their home base for many years. 13 cars, one of the cars that has been into
Todd Perriott
to reset their drive time, but a little loop there for Todd.
Rejoined right in front of Therese Lalu there. Uncomfortable position for the pair of them. Therese throws it up the inside and will take the spot away.
That was nice commitment, but not too risky. Just really, you know, make your point, you know what I mean? Don't get in no man's land. Establish yourself alongside Sam coming through, and then don't give that other driver anywhere to turn and give him the opportunity.
That was for 15th and 16th overall, 9th and 10th in the Pro-Am class. Looks like Brayton Williams has been able to rejoin the race, albeit 8 laps down. Love to know what the problem was, if that was damage picked up from his spin and off, or if there was a problem that caused the spin. But in any event, tough start to the season for the TR3 team. And we were talking about this on our way to the track, weren't we? About you have fewer races this year, fewer chances to score points. A bad result is punitive in a way that it wasn't a year ago. You just don't have the chance to make up for that.
Yeah, other than the Indy 8 hour last year or years previous, whereas a double point score, any of the 90-minute races, you have a problem. Well, now it's like you have a problem in one of these races, like having two bad races. So you only got 7 chances to score. Oh, that was a big moment there for the 8 car. Great catch, but he's going to lose track position there. And Al Gaining finally has got by one of these Porsches.
One down, one still to go.
Nice catch though by the It
was.
Jr.
Quick hands. It's been an interesting stint for Michael. He's probably been in the wars as much as anybody, passing people, giving up a couple of spots, recovering from time to time. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see what the stint clock looks like. And everyone from 16th on up is yet to come in and reset their clock. I think that Derek DeBoer, that clock should have been reset. I mean, that could just be adding up the total drive time, I suppose, for DeBoer, but they'll have further that they can go because they came in for service under the yellow.
Yeah, that's their total stint length when they last crossed the line, but they can still go further than that because they're not maxed out. That's been reset. So they are about 15 minutes shy of that number. It should be around 28, I would think.
Crucial to track, though, as we go throughout this race. Here come some of the first big callers in this sequence. This is RS1 making the call for JP Martinez.
Bizarre moment in one of the practice sessions the other day. Jan Halen aboard this 28 car just rushed up on another car which was almost parked on the pit entry and ended up hitting that tire bundle there with a little bit of front end damage to this RS1 Porsche. Very bizarre for someone so experienced, bit caught out. But then we spoke to the race stewards and they said, well, the other car was going 38 kilometers an hour, which is almost at a standstill at 25 miles an hour.
Martinez coming off a championship year in Carrera Cup last year, won the Pro-Am title on the strength of 6 wins, 14 podium finishes. This is a return of sorts to RS1, for whom he drove in Pirelli GT4 America back in 2022. That looks like a reset of the clock, and that's it.
Yeah, didn't see any action, but it seemed like a lengthy refiring of that race car. So sometimes when the car is hot on a day like this, they don't immediately spring back into life, which can raise the old heart rate if you're sitting behind the wheel. Like, oh no, this strategy has suddenly gone upside down.
Great opening stint to the season here from Mackay Stevens. It was a big opportunity for him last year to join up with JMF at the GT3 level, having driven at a high level for them in Pirelli GT4 America and elsewhere in previous years. And he proved to be easily adaptable to the GT3 platform, winning on debut.
And the other key is if you're going to do that driver reset, you want to stay on the lead lap. So that was important there that car got on and off pit lane, stay ahead of the leader, because if there's a safety car that comes out, you'll then cycle to the back here and you got that stint reset done. So a lot of wrinkles to this. The 28 car, they certainly want to get Martinez back up to speed.
Full service pit stop for the McCann team. It will be a double stint though for Michael behind the wheel, but they will do tires, they will do fuel. So this is governed by that 85-second minimum time in the pits. Already changed one side. Typically these pit stops are governed by fuel flow, but if you've not run your full tank, this is not necessarily going to be a super lengthy fuel fill. So there is still a competitive element here to getting the tires done. Make sure you get those done before the fuel is complete, and the McCann team have managed to do exactly that.
Yeah, there should be plenty of time because you got 45 seconds just traversing pit lane. You got 85 seconds to play with, so 40 seconds is typically a full refill on the GT3 car. And to your point, Ryan, it should be completely out unless you got a fuel flow issue.
Refueling, well, wasn't complete. First race for this team in GT World Challenge America. Now they unplug again, and away goes Michael McCann. That was strange.
Yeah, that was a little bizarre. That was less than ideal. We'll see when he leaves pit lane exactly how much time that cost them.
Yeah, this is a long stop. It's already been 95 seconds in the pit lane for the team. So they definitely will lose some ground. Whether that was an equipment malfunction or something else, hard to say. But something to learn from for the team in its first start.
I hope there's not a further issue there, because normally the refueler's going to unplug when he sees the bubbles like it's completely topped off. They wouldn't be playing any games, I wouldn't think, with a time fill. You want to certainly have as much fuel on board so you can extend that run as far as you can and give you some strategy options. And he was plugged in, and they finally said, well, unplug, and then there's some concern that he didn't have all of the fuel in.
Closing in on 50 minutes into this race, so everyone who has yet to come in and at least reset the stint clock will have to do so here before too much longer. We're lapping at 95 seconds.
Kai can do one more lap. Let's see if they go aggressive or will they play it a little bit safer. Looks like he's staying out. Let's see if Dollar Height Racing does the same thing. Get a little bit deeper in the pack. They may be forced to come in right now because you're looking at a 95-second lap for the leaders right now. So if you're about 30 seconds back of the leaders, you do not have the option of doing one more lap.
Little surprised JMF kept him out because he has this traffic to deal with. This will hinder his in-lap. Thought there might have been a case to be made to pit and get out of that traffic. Here comes Daskalos. This is from the lead in Pro-Am.
Yeah, it'd have been tight. As you look at the clock there, you know, the 95-second lap, he'd have been within 10 seconds. So a little spin or anything can immediately put you outside of that 50-minute.
Everybody else recognizing exactly what you said. No sense cutting it too close here. So Coleman, Elgany, and Washington all in the pit lane. This is Jay Schreiben with a stall trying to leave the pits.
Well, when you got hot tires, and Jay's not maybe used to that, if you're doing a double stint on the tires, you got to give it a lot more revs to launch out your pit boxes. Those P0s are giving you a lot more grip than a sticker set out of the box.
And Amanda reports it's Oz Negri climbing aboard for Jay Schreiben. Looked like a driver change about to take place too for Chicago Performance and Tuning. That would be Matt Silja-Haug replacing Nikolai Elgadian, who was super quick in that opening stint.
Solid run here for Todd Coleman. They got one of the best strategists up and down pit lane, Mike Johnson, on the box. He'll know all of the wrinkles with these new rules here. They looked at it, kind of got a bit of a game plan. He's also got a master in terms of saving fuel, in terms of Aaron Thielitz. He's one of the best in the business at saving fuel and still keeping rock solid lap time. So they'll be working on that stint length or the fuel range length to play some strategy options at the end of this race. They're back timing it the other way around.
Final stops in this sequence. Here comes Stevens from the overall lead. Sedgwick comes in. So that will promote Rothberg, I think, to the overall lead of the race when he comes through. He and DeBoer both pitted under the yellow, so they can go a little bit further here. could help open up a window for them at the tail end of the race. Rothberg now into the chicane. I'm not sure he ever got quite back around, did he, after that pit stop to catch the tail end of the train at the end of the full course yellow. So whether or not he'll actually come around to take the lead remains to be seen, but he should inherit a good position if he stays out. Instead, they're going to go ahead and take him into the pits here.
It looks routine. Obviously a long pit lane, got a curve on it, so JMF paddock around, pitted around the corner as you saw the dollar height car released. There we go.
It came in with a 2.5 second gap. It looks like they'll leave with at least that. What appears to be good pit work from the JMF crew. And comes Stevens out. It was a driver change for Dollarhide.
Yeah, and I think for Turner, they're just doing another. No, here they come. They're hitting their pit box now.
Right on the money for JMF, 85.6 seconds. So 0.6 to the good. Little slower than that for Dollarhide. They were at 89 seconds. When you must be in the pits for 85 at a minimum. So they gave up a little bit of time there. Advantage to the Mercedes.
Yeah, and they're the little wrinkles you got to iron out when you're running an organization where there's so much more in the game. With the pro teams you're competing against, you can't afford to leave anything on the table like that.
Well, one car that has left something on the table, unfortunately, would be the Archangel McLaren. They came in, it looked like they were stopped just 82 seconds. That's significantly under the minimum. And there's different degrees of penalties for how egregious, I guess, you are in excess of that rule.
There are, but just getting back to this, I think they just did a driver stint reset here for Rothberg, so he'll be able to get through this one. That'll give them the option of getting Robbie Foley in, and they can play the game on the backside potentially if they got good fuel mileage with that BMW of only needing a stint reset versus a refuel. So they'll refuel next time when they put Robbie in, and then maybe look to maybe gain at the end and just do a reset on their final stop.
Yeah, because they did take fuel under the yellow, so yep, they can play that game here. Clever stuff from the Turner team. Trying to see if anybody else might be in trouble for being under time. If Daskalos took full service, they also were significantly under the minimum. They were in for 80 seconds. If they didn't take service, then it was a remarkably long reset. This is a penalty for the AF Corsa AM-Class car. Pit lane speed violation. Stop plus 30 seconds now with Oz Negri behind the wheel.
So you're saying Daskalos was 80? That's not good either way.
Right. Yeah.
It's way too long if you're just stopping and resetting, and it's way too short if you did take fuel.
Exactly.
See if we can get clarification on that.
Derek DeBoer stays in the car. This will be a double stint for Derek, and he assumes the lead of the race. Slightly out of sequence, of course, because they have to come in with the damage during the full course yellow. But they have to be breathing a big sigh of relief. This is a huge recovery for them, and a bullet dodged when they were taken out right here in this corner early in the race that brought out the first full course yellow. Looked like that car took some significant damage to the back, but Derek's been relatively on the pace since getting back underway.
He really was. He was hanging tough there with Rothberg with the healthy Turner Motorsports BMW, so an excellent job by him. And to your point, can't be too much damage with the lap times that he was turning. So certainly Hampus Eriksson is going to be confident that he's got still a fast race car to go and do something with here today.
It's right on board with Derek as he climbs the hill. Told me in conversation earlier this week, compared to the Aston that he had been driving the last couple of years, that he doesn't have to work quite as hard behind the wheel of this car. Problems for the McLaren. This could be yet another problem for the McLaren if I was indeed correct about the time in the pits, but a grill full of grass, Calvin. Not sure how he picked it all up, but that's going to cause some overheating issues very quickly on a warm afternoon.
Yeah, it's a really warm afternoon. This is not going to last long. Otherwise, he's going to just burn that engine down in that McLaren. It's a brand new engine, as we mentioned earlier. So those temperatures are going to be skyrocketing here with no air getting to that radiator and cooling the engine down ultimately.
And this is a race coming unwound for them. After qualifying second in class, Aaron and Todd have had good pace all weekend long. This has the chance to really scupper the hard work they've put in already. We have a look at what happened. Just a little wide at the exit of the carousel and even beyond the dust into the grass.
Yeah, once you're a little bit off the line there, off the curvature, the radius that you're trying to run, it's hard to get that front end back. And it gets a little bit dusty out there as well and just pack that radiator grill. So unfortunate, it's really hard to get that off. We've seen that earlier in the weekend with other teams and drivers like to try and stop the car and trying to shove that grass forward, but it seems like it just embeds itself in there. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't hit pit lane this time through.
We saw it from out of the car. What did it look like for Todd in the car?
He's already drifting out wide. He just got out in the grey, out in the marbles. You could tell he went shifted up, and suddenly no one was home on the front end. It's like someone pulls the rug from underneath you as you're trying to get those front tires to bite. And the more you turn the wheel, the worse it seems to get. You've really just got to crack the throttle, try and get the weight back on the nose.
Problems for multiple Pro-Am front runners. In addition to this car, a drive-through penalty for Jason Daskelos and Lorcan Hannafin. They were short on that pit stop. And then this car also will have to come back in and do a drive-through because, as we talked about, they were under the minimum by over 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's brutal. So it costs you 45 seconds to the field in terms of the time spent down pit lane. It's not a true delta. You're probably looking at about, I don't know, 35 to 40 because the other cars are obviously got to traverse the same amount of time on the, or the distance on the racetrack.
But these had been on pace, the top two cars in the Pro-Am class. That's how they qualified, first and second, and were running there before the order got shuffled up by the pit stops.
Yeah, so disappointing because Jason's been so kind of pumped up this weekend and you can't take the smile off his face since he drove this race car for the very first time here on Wednesday. He said, this is a different animal to what I'm used to, and he's just loving life. He's got a really fast teammate, but these little mistakes you can't afford to have. Still an opportunity. That's the one thing with a 3-hour race. You got a little bit more time to recover versus a 90-minute sprint like we had last year. So they're not out of this, but it's not going to help their cause in terms of track position, of course, right now at this stage of the event.
And pardon me if you just said this, just give me a wave and I'll stop. But it's worth noting that drive-through penalties, we've been talking so much about drive time, drive-through penalties, the clock continues to tick in your stint. Normally, time spent in the pit lane does not count.
That's right.
That was something that was clarified by a bulletin earlier today. Let's check in on a fight here. Matt Siljehaug has caught Todd Perriott. And Siljehaug in the Lamborghini that was started by Nikolai Elgadian. I have to believe that car's got the pace to put a move on this Porsche here based on what we saw early in the race.
Yeah, and obviously Nikolai's got to get back in that car because he will not have sufficed the 75-minute minimum drive time. So it looks like they're a team that are going for either a single alternate strategy with single, or whether they're going to do a single and then a double for Mads and then put Nikolai back in for the finish.
Unfortunately, they lost a lot of time in the pits. They were 8 seconds over the minimum. So that's cost him, and they're having to make up ground they had prior to the pit stops. Up one position there. I suppose, though, you're better off being 8 seconds over than over 2 seconds under, as we have learned.
Yeah, because whatever you're under, it's multiplied by 10 up to the 2-second mark. Anything over that, that's immediate drive-through, which costs you, we talked about it, maybe around 40 seconds. So yeah, you want to be close to the margin. Sometimes you'll play that game a little bit, but we've seen a few teams nail it absolutely spot on in the early phases of this season.
Let's keep an eye on this Lamborghini here because he's got Michael Clark in the crosshairs next. Both of them technically are GT World Challenge America rookies, but Siljehaug's been a pro racing driver at a high level for a really long time, a Ryder Engineering factory driver for a time. And it looks like he should be able to get that position here shortly. Meantime, from bad to worse, Calvin, pit lane speed violation, stop plus 30 seconds. That was presumably on the last trip down the pit lane, which was itself serving a penalty.
Yeah, this is unraveling quick. This is basically going to add up to over a lap deficit. By the time you add up those two penalties, you can't do them both on the same stop. So it's going to be two stops to serve those penalties to get back on the right side of the steward's office.
So painful on a weekend that started with such promise. It's not day done yet, though, as it might have been a year ago. I suppose that's the benefit. We talked about a bad day being more difficult to overcome from a championship perspective in 2026 with just one race on a weekend. But the fact it's now a 3-hour race, if you have the issue early enough, maybe you can get yourself back into the mix in a way that wasn't possible previously.
Yeah, that is for sure. So lots to learn here. I mean, I think the engineers and the strategists' minds will be smoking down there on pit lane as they see other teams do certain things. They try to figure out, just as we are here in the commentary booth, just trying to see what sort of angle the teams are trying to use on this first chance of these new rules and regulations that we have in place for this year. Matt Sillyhouk, he uses every inch of the road. I don't see many drivers that elect to put those left side tires in the pit entrance lane there to try and widen that entrance and set up point, turn in point for that corner.
As it was described to me, as long as one wheel is in contact with the racetrack side of that line, you're good to go. But if there's any contact with a car that is trying to pit and is doing so properly, it will be looked upon, I think dimly was the word that was used in description of that scenario.
Certainly stint length is going to be a much talked about variable in the races this year, and there you can see what everyone's on right now. So De Boer is getting close to that point where he's going to have to hit pit lane again. He was on that alternate strategy along with Rothberg, but then they did another reset, brought him in, didn't take fuel on the second one, just reset the driver's stint length. So I think for De Boer, he may be looking at getting a pit lane here within the next 5 minutes, but he's going to be shy of the 75-minute mark, unfortunately for him. So by when they took that pit stop and time on pit lane and stuff, they weren't on the right side of being able to suffice the 75-minute minimum drive time, and I think that's maybe why Turner Motorsports elected to go on a different strategy. They stayed really flexible with their options there. If you add 4 minutes to the maximum you can do, you're only got like an hour and 67 minutes on your drive time.
Puts you in a bind to try and square that circle. See how Random Vandals tries to play this to get back in a position where they can fight. But right now, apparently on the back foot. A couple of brightly colored Porsches. Used to be, you knew exactly who we were looking at when you looked at Kyle Washington's car, but somehow these two have, if not quite mirrored one another, certainly not from the back, but from the front, at least if you aren't quite used to seeing the cars just yet, you could certainly make that mistake.
Keeping us on our toes to start the season as we get used to all the different designs and colors. It's great to see, though, just really eclectic color schemes we're seeing for this 2026 season.
Quiet afternoon, it must be said, for Kyle Washington, which is not typically his style. Here's the drive-through, at least one of them, for Jason Daskelos. But Washington has kept that nose clean. He's risen up to 7th in class. Excuse me, 7th overall, 4th in class, but 3rd of the cars on his strategy. This would be for de facto 2nd place on this strategy if he were able to put the pass on Dave Musial. Dave stepping up to GT World Challenge America this year, does so with Wright Motorsports. Team boss, former champion in SRO America, Adam Adelson, here this weekend. Adam stood on the class podium at the 12 Hours of Sebring just a week ago. That is a penalty served for Jason Daskelos, who will have to be careful not to speed once again. Man, how frustrating that must be, considering how quick they've been all weekend long.
Super frustrating. Yeah, just so much potential there with Vulcan Hannafin just displaying his talent and speed here this weekend. He's going to make a statement this year alongside Jason, who I truly believe is one of the fastest bronze drivers that we have. And so much fun to be able to see him with that JMF squad for this year.
Closing stint he had in the final race he ran last year at Barber Motorsports Park, head-to-head with Philip Ellis, and he kept him at bay for 30 minutes, 45 minutes until they made contact on the last lap. Philip, very sportsmanlike, actually pulled to the side and let Daskalos through to get the podium in what was his last race of 2025. But yeah, that showcased just how feisty and how quick Daskalos can be.
So Perez Compact will now go to the lead as Derek DeBoer hits pit lane. Running really tight to that 50-minute maximum stint length there, so we'll have to wait and see. We've really got to send him or put him back in the car before the end of the race, certainly, to get to that 75 minutes minimum.
Stevens here behind Perez Compact. Speed just on a different sequence of what service they did during their respective stops.
Yeah, I think Compact just did a driver reset. He didn't refuel, so that's going to be key now to see if he can stretch that fuel on the Ferrari far enough so that he can get to that 75-minute mark, turn it over to Frenny Shandorf, and jump out of the race car. De Boer was on the wrong side of that, and that's why he's got the lead right now, because his time on pit lane was about 30 seconds less than that of Mackay Stevens.
How much will he hold Stevens up, or can Mackay find a way past? How patient is he willing to be? If you're Mackay here, do you want to know all the details of how that Ferrari ended up in front of you? Know that they're off sequence?
Yeah, I think you do. I think it's really hard with this new set of regulations, with everyone pitting at very different times already today, so there's different strategies going on. It's like, okay, he's got the lead. How did he get the lead? I've done nothing wrong here. I've been leading right from the get-go. We made a pit stop, and you're saying I'm now not leading this race. And that's where you need to have that put into perspective for you. Otherwise, you can get frustrated and maybe make a move where you don't need to.
Now he's going to make the move here. And Mercedes looks so good through turn 11, able to get alongside the Ferrari. Can he keep it there, though? Matias gives him space. Not sure these two have ever raced door-to-door before. Stevens super aggressive around the outside, and he'll take the lead back.
Yeah, that was really nicely done, nicely judged there. Didn't have any jeopardy with that move, but he certainly had to go high risk with that. Risk versus reward during these events, certainly at this racetrack, is going to be at the forefront of drivers' minds when they make decisions like that. Got a lot of confidence in this race car, being able to drive a little bit offline through that high-speed sweeper there, climbing the hill in turn 1.
Guy's been a man on the move in his time behind the wheel. So too, Matt Siljehout, who just did the race's best lap for Chicago Performance and Tuning. Awesome debut. Well, we saw the fight for first and second overall. Here's third overall, your Pro-Am leader, JP Martinez. There's something to be said for just keeping your nose clean, Cal.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to see that RS1 squad back this year. Martinez has got really good speed. He and Jan Halen, tell you what, they're already established themselves as maybe one of the combinations to beat this year.
I think you're exactly right. Again, this is a team that knows its way around a championship in GT World Challenge America. Jan Halen, a known commodity, no question about what he's capable of. For Martinez to step into GT3 after Carrera Cup title a year ago. Not quite a clean nose, but relatively harmless.
Yeah, that was a good catch by our camera guys there to see that, but as you could see, never really trimmed any grass. Sometimes that splitter is almost like a lawnmower, like we saw with Todd Coleman. It absolutely packed. I don't think he collected anything of that little off-course excursion. It's a little bit more desert-like there in that turn 9 area versus more some of the lush grass. Maybe the sheep have been grazing over there a little bit longer.
I don't think it's just been the sheep. I think it's been all the race cars that we've had. Exactly so. He is by no means the first to take that line through the chicane. Talked about Siljehout turning in the fastest lap of the race, and he's used it to run down Therese Lalu. This is for position. Lalu in 4th place, Siljehout trying to take it away, and his experience level made that a foregone conclusion, put Siljehout up a spot.
Yeah, this is exciting. We talk about young talents come through the sport. He's had a lot of success in GT4. Ryder Engineering factory driver for a while, and getting the opportunity, this is what he's going to really try and grasp with both hands, to showcase what he can do against some of the world's best GT3 drivers and try and get the attention of some big teams and manufacturers, you'd have to believe.
My understanding is Mads is in for the full season. Nikolai can't do every round, but the hope is to find someone who can stand in for races that Nikolai Elganian can't do. That said, based on how his first stint went, it's going to be quite difficult for him to say no to participating in these races.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a fun combination. It was great when he joined up with Nikolai. Nikolai was running in single driver format for a while, then they went to the format with 2 drivers, and they got teamed up together. But Mackay Stevens continues to stretch the gap over Perez Companc. Again, on very different strategies. The real key here is, can Perez Companc stay out there for another 4.5 minutes and suffice the drive time?
Martinez in a nice rhythm here. His best lap of the race is only 0.7 of a second off of the best from Mackay Stevens. And it's actually quicker than Matthias Perez Companc in a Pro Class car. It speaks to JP's level of talent and increasing familiarity with the 911. Knows the car well in its Cup car iteration. Has some seat time in Caymans too over the years. Here's a look at your fastest race laps. Celia Haug, Stevens, Cameron Lawrence, Michael McCann Jr., and Oz Negri. That's cool to see. Oz is still on the pace. Not a surprise.
Not a surprise, just a total legend. On the Rolex 2012, and continued in GT competition since he moved out of prototypes. Over the last, I don't know, what, 8-9 years he's been in GT cars.
Won the M-Class Championship last year with Jay Schreibman. We're back together for another go-round. Jay, Amanda said, they were hoping to have him run a double here at the start of the race, but it was quite hot inside the car, so they called an audible. And as they're running unopposed, there's no real detriment to changing up the strategy here and compromising perhaps your ultimate performance, but using this as a tune-up because competition is expected as the year goes along. Here is the car with Oz Negri driving from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Turns 62 2 months from now. In fact, 2 months to the day from now.
Yes, looks like he's about 40, just fit as a fiddle, real athlete. Continued to work on his fitness level, knowing that that would extend his career. But just a totally great guy in terms of knowing the game so well, so he can really fast track some of these drivers that he co-drives with who don't have the experience, and just such an asset to have.
We know that Random Vandals is on a different strategic sequence than much of the field. That was Hampus Eriksson getting ready to climb aboard. We think he's just a lap or 2 away from coming in, Derek de Boer that is, and turning over to the Swede, reigning Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America champion. Great save there by Derek.
I'm not sure if he actually picked up the curb there with the left front there, just got really tight there through the middle of the carousel, and maybe just got a little bit more bite that caused that moment. He's got to be careful here. It's been a long stint. As we said, really toasty temperatures here for Sonoma. You don't anticipate that when you come here in the month of March. You have the throttle trace there, just having to feather it, then back full power. So he's got to go a little bit further here, because you would think, oh, well, 75 minutes, that'll happen at 1:45 to go. Remember your time on pit lane, if it's a true stop, does not count for that minimum drive time.
Right. I think they should be in the next lap or so. Good job by Derek. Amanda, a couple laps ago, said they would be in 5 laps. So we're getting there, getting close.
Yeah, he's been on pit lane 2 minutes, 17 seconds. So you're looking at about, another 3 minutes, and he should be safe.
Now this could have
See
gone.
that diffuser there?
Yeah.
You can really see it flapping around there. That is less than ideal, and it's got to be compromised. That rear downforce is 69 car looks down at the inside. Todd Coleman's got to be frustrated by that little off.
I wonder if the remedial repairs that they put on the car maybe haven't held quite right, or if it's broken again around that strap. But at any event, yeah, that's a tough one for Derek de Boer. It seemed like he had the pace of this BMW in the early stages of this stint, but the car seems to maybe be in worse shape than it was earlier on. Maybe that's something they can attend to during the stop. This is the car that's in a really interesting spot strategically, as Calvin has talked about, because they've gone about this in a slightly different way than the Vandals did the fuel stop, then did the reset. And I got the sense, Cal, that they thought they might have to do something different than the rest of the class based on the relative pace of the BMW at this track this week.
Yeah, they did a little bit of a reset BOP-wise and added a bit of weight to the Porsches and the Mercedes that seemed to have the edge on the BMW. Left that alone, so we'll see what happens as we move forward to Circuit of the Americas. I mean, certainly this is not a racetrack where, you know, the straightaways are really prevalent and have such a major factor in your lap time, but Robbie Foley getting ready to go. You'd have to feel that he's going to see out the rest of this race aboard the Turner Motorsports BMW factory pilot. And just really been a great mentor for young Justin Rothberg to learn the ropes, and on his way to now 3 championships, 2 in Pro-Am with Robbie Foley, and obviously the GT America, which he did solo last year.
That was something that Justin desperately wanted to get. He knew it was likely he wouldn't be eligible to race in GT America this year. That's the way it's proven to be. And that upgrade in driver ranking, or at least the fact he has to race as his true driver ranking, a silver, has resulted in their promotion to the Pro class this year.
He's got to be careful. I think that clock needs to be at 1:42.45 for him to be able to come in. So I've got a feeling he's going to have to do one more. Yes. I think he'll be in next lap. 2:15. 2 minutes 15 is the time on pit lane. So you got to add that into the number there of 75. So that becomes 77 minutes and 15 seconds he's got to do before he comes into pit lane. Buy me a new calculator for my birthday, Ryan.
Yeah, the one we've got up here is smoking. There's a fire hazard. And
that's me. I don't actually have one. That's just my head.
It's pouring out of Calvin's ears right now, but it's a good thing we've got Cal to try and stay on top of all of this. This commentary thing doesn't work out for you. You might have a job on one of these pit boxes. Thing is, if you're wrong up here, nobody's race gets ruined.
I still have a glass of wine tonight. Be total stress fest if I got it wrong on pit lane.
You feel for all the strategists who, over the last handful of years, really had it dialed in what you could and couldn't do, what the best way was to skin the 90-minute race cat, if you will. And that's all gone out the window now with the expansion of the race distance or race time from 90 minutes.
Tell you what, Martinez has done a really great job, because he's only been on pit lane once for a driver reset, so he's done a really good job of holding this pace and getting the fuel mileage. So as we said prior to the weekend, we really felt that that fuel range for the different manufacturers are going to be a key component to this, so that may be looked at moving forward as well. You don't want that to be the differentiator for a race win.
Right, that's part of the BOP. You're trying to get everybody to burn their fuel to the end at roughly the same time, and you would hate that fuel burn could dictate whether or not a strategy was available to a team when it's not really entirely in their hands. Fuel save, though, still comes down to engine maps, still comes down to how the driver is driving. And to your point about JP Martinez, remarkable that he's been able to do this coming out of sprint racing, Pirelli GT4 America, Carrera Cup. You don't really have to think about fuel saving in those championships.
Yeah, no, it's a real art to be able to do that and not lose lap time. And most drivers just think, well, I'm lifting off the gas pedal. What you really save fuel is just sailing it into the brake zone. So you get up to full power and then just lift off and just like sail it into the brake zones. But when you're good at it, you're saving the tires a little bit. You're not overheating the tires. You're not generating that temperature up through the brakes. And when you get really good, you can really run super lap times, just losing maybe 2 or 3 tenths and really getting phenomenal fuel mileage at the same time.
Is it an easier skill to learn today because you have all of this data available to you in the car? You can see your fuel burn. We'll cover that off in a second because we've got AF Corsa calling their pro car into the pits. What do we think about the timing here?
I think they're good on this one in terms of the 75 minutes, yeah. I think Rothberg's been good for a lap, so they may be looking at another option right now.
Back to my question, though. When you were learning how to fuel save, it's not like you had a computer on the steering wheel in front of you telling what your number was each and every lap. Drivers today do have more data at their disposal, and you can try different techniques and get instant feedback whether or not it's working, right?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Just trying to think about this strategy here by keeping Rothberg out. So we got what, 99 minutes to go. If he's running enough pace that they're comfortable with, they could keep pushing this run, because obviously he topped up with fuel on that first stop. If they can get to a point in the race where if Foley goes on a full fuel save, he could maybe get to the finish with just a reset on the stint time, but it's going to be really tough to do with that many minutes left. They'd have to push him a lot further and deeper into this race, and then you're compromising Justin's pace, which is obviously slower than Robbie's when he gets on board.
So you got to think about, is the time lost having Justin in the car rather than Robbie, is that something you can make up with by having a shorter time spent on pit lane with the final stop, doing a reset rather than a refuel?
Absolutely, and that's where when you have someone with a driver lineup like JMF has with Grenier and Stevens, there is no compromise to play with. You can just run the numbers and forget about that aspect of it.
Well, for reference, Rothberg's best lap is a high 36. The pros are running in the low 35s, low to mid 35s. So probably about a second delta, what you would expect to see Justin to Robbie at this stage in his career?
I'd say 1.4. Oh, this is getting nasty here. Argy-bargy here between Sillihaug and Rothberg. Rothberg takes to the grass there to avoid further contact. Not sure why Sillihaug need to do. I mean, to me, I didn't see Rothberg moving around there, and Sillihaug suddenly got alongside and was elbows out.
Cars in different classes. Wonder if this is in response to that, or if this was already the plan, and if so, doubly painful perhaps to lose some time here on the in lap, but nevertheless, here comes Rothberg.
Yeah, and they may be playing a game with looking where he is and staying on the lead lap and all things like that. So there's so many permutations. We're trying to give a big picture, but each team is like in the trenches in terms of their exact track position and everything. So they may have elected, you know what, we can knock out a bit more time here. We're not going to get to the point where Foley can just do it on a driver reset. He's going to need another stop after this one to top up with fuel. But if we push Justin a little bit deeper, that gives some strategy options as long as we stay on the lead lap.
And to reiterate, it doesn't matter how much fuel you put in, even if you need a half a gallon, any fuel that goes in means you have to maintain that 85-second minimum pit in to pit out. So there's no benefit to having a shorter fuel load that you need to put in late in the race.
The reason they do that to a certain degree is to not really put it in the hands of doing a super fast tire change where teams are going to get super techy and start really getting into high train situations with experts doing the wheel change, because that could be the differentiator. So I like that.
Good pit work by the Turner guys. They sit stationary for a bit. That's typically a good sign. Random Vandals trying to address the flapping rear diffuser. I'm not sure they got that as buttoned up as they would have liked, but they had to let the car go or risk losing time sitting in the pits.
Outlap so critical here. Robbie Foley, his new tire seems to come to life pretty quickly. Made this switch as Road America last year when he switched to the new Spec Pirelli, as I recall. But I think in the heat of the day that we're seeing here, it shouldn't be a big issue. You'd think within a few corners you got decent grip, and within a lap or two they should be right in their sweet spot. Hampus Eriksson should be behind the Random Vandals machine, taking over from Derek DeBoer. Still got that rear damage. Have to see what he feels on his immediate laps to see if it's anything like the car he's been driving all weekend long.
You gotta hope Derek DeBoer was able to send some message at least, so you know what to expect, but I'm not sure there's anything that could fully prepare you for it. Paul Sparta, team boss at Random Vandals, though, has been glowing. Anytime you ask about how Hampus has fit in with the team, not just the pace, you expect that to be good, Super Trofeo Pro Champion of a year ago, but the way that the personality has gelled, that's true of Derek DeBoer, too.
Derek's such a likable guy, so I mean, he picked Hampus up from the airport and never met him, and just, he said we gelled immediately, become best buds within the course of a few days.
That's what you hope for, but it's not instantaneous all the time. That's actually quite rare that you get that to click right away. Here's Martinez. What an awesome opening stint from JP. Super cool what he's been able to do. Promoted to the lead in Pro-Am. Mostly kept his nose clean. We saw the one shortcut through the chicane, but no harm, no foul. And now the RS1 team will go to work. Jan Halen set to climb aboard.
My data is correct. He's done this with just a driver reset, so they have gone 85 minutes. I know we had some under yellow, and he's been on pit lane, so, but that's incredible. That's incredible fuel range for he in that Porsche. This was the leader in Pro-Am, so that's now going to change, of course. Celia Haug, I believe, should assume the lead. There it is. If the stewards are going to look at that interaction. Yes, and they are. It's under review. So I just caught it late, but it seemed to me like the elbows are out from the left side of that Lamborghini versus from Rothberg.
Side by side when the replay starts. One bit of contact and a second to follow. Yep. Ooh, and a third.
I guess Rothberg was feinting over to the right side, kind of middle of the road a little bit. And I think Mads maybe thought, you know what, you're going to run me out of room. I'm just going to make sure you don't close this lane completely. So, yeah, I'd say 60% aggressiveness on Celia Haug, but I think Justin certainly had a little bit of skin in that game as well. That may go untouched, particularly as they both survived.
I think I just saw it pop up that a warning was issued. Let me double check. Yes. Warning issued to
both cars.
Both cars, yeah.
Yeah,
Probably the right choice.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a little bit of argy-bargy, a heated discussion.
Pole sitting car back in the pits. Kai Stevens, has he handed it over? You can tell right away. It was a clean first stop for this car out of the JMF stable. Part of the problem for the sister car, evidently, of Daskalos was that the pit timer didn't start the way it was supposed to, so they were guessing. And came up on the wrong side of that guesswork.
Yeah, you got to have a safety system in place. You got to have a safety net, just someone with a stopwatch and just know how long the car is to be stationary for. You'll have done your sum and your math. There's a little software thing that they have on the dash that will count you down. If that's not working, well, you need someone on the radio saying, with a stopwatch saying, okay, we need to be stationary for this amount of time, which should theoretically be 40 seconds. You're looking at 85 seconds total time on pit lane as the minimum. Just driving through costs you 45. So you're slowing down into your pit box. That changes things a little bit, but you need to be around that 40-second mark, and someone needs to be on a stopwatch if you got that going on.
There's the Dolomite team in. They had a long stop the first time. How about the second stop of the season? Cameron Lawrence gets out. Alex Sedgwick gets back in. This is the strategy Cameron said to expect from them, just single stinting their drivers, keeping them fresh.
Yeah, and they're locked in now because neither one of these drivers has done their minimum drive time, and by Cam getting out, he's got to get back in again to finish this race. But this is a little bit simpler when you got two drivers who are so equally matched, like we're seeing with Dolomite Racing with JMF. It just really keeps it simple. You're not having to like throw any Hail Marys or anything like that. You just really keep it nice and simple like JMF had done with the 34 car.
On a different sequence, but to the front of the race for the first time. Chicago Performance and Tuning. Matt Celia Haug, who has been rapid in this car. His title of fastest man around Sonoma has gone away. Tom Sargent, a little while ago, reset the fastest lap of the race, but Mads has been a revelation in his first GT World Challenge America start. Coming through the carousel here. firmly in control, but will need to come to the pits before too much longer. Hampus Ericsson's aboard the Random Vandals racing car now. That means Derek DeBoer is out and ready to talk to Amanda.
Yeah, and Derek's taking everything in stride of what happened in this opening stint, and Alberto Pina came over and said, great job on staying cool, but how did you describe the incident to me?
Well, I had kind of this bad dream that came true about a pink unicorn, you know, right in the tail, and it wasn't how I planned on starting my return to the U.S., but I sure am happy to be back. It's been a wild adventure, and to be back racing in SRO GT World Challenge America, and the Random Vandals guys, this is feeling like a new home in one weekend, and just having a blast so far. It certainly wasn't how we wanted to start, but we had a great car, we had good pace, and we're still out there. 3 hours is a long time, so who knows what Hampus can do. He's pretty magical himself.
Saw some damage on the BMW. I know the team tried to address that diffuser there when you came in for the pit stop. What else were you battling out there with this BMW?
You know, surprisingly, I think this thing is a battle horse. It felt fine after the impact. It was really just the fact that it threw us off a strategy to where it made sense to just leave the same tires on through the stop, and you know, even with that out-of-class battle with Rothberg, we were fighting pretty hard, and I was noticing the PSI going through the roof, and they start to get into a very unhappy zone, so decided to pull it back a little bit and just bring the car in clean for Hampus and see what he can go do.
Random Vandals trying to dig out of the first incident at the beginning of the race.
Let's go back to that incident. Slade Stewart was the other car involved. Pink and white car in the background just misjudged the brake zone and got into the back twice of the Random Vandals number 99, and it seemed like it was the second hit that did the bulk of the damage to that diffuser. They've done their best to try and secure it, but it's definitely not perfect.
Yeah, I'd have to think, because that bodywork damage on Slade's car was minimal up front, and I think that second hit must have broken the rear axle or something. He didn't have any drive, because otherwise they'd have tried to get that car back to pit lane, but he was stranded there, obviously on the flatbed, and their day is over. So I'd imagine we saw the wheel was kinked and had been torn up a little bit, and maybe it just snapped the drive shaft when he tried to take off.
Well, it's Hampus Ericsson now trying to get into his rhythm. His first stint as a GT World Challenge America driver. Of course, his brother Marcus Ericsson, they drove together. It was Hampus's first ever GT3 race, but they did a 24-hour series race in Malaysia over the winter. And I think the two of them would like to drive together again if the opportunity should present itself. And wouldn't you know it, we've got a race later this year where you need 3 drivers. So
I think I've seen stories floating around that may be the case.
Well, Marcus lives in Indianapolis. The race is in Indianapolis. If only it were that simple.
Well, we certainly see some IndyCar drivers like Alex Palou and Connor Daly really do tremendous jobs.
Will Power last year.
Yeah, so not surprised to see Marcus jump on board. That IndyCar season finishes very early, and all of those drivers like to get a bit more seat time in the off season.
And Marcus is really curious about this, and a super supportive older brother. Turned up at a lot of Hampus's Super Trofeo races last year. I saw Marcus at St. Pete earlier this year and said, hey, how many World Challenge races are you coming to this year to support your brother? And he said, everyone I can get to. So we might have an Indy 500 winner at the track before too terribly much longer. New driver aboard for AF Corsa. This is Fred Schandorf, Danish driver. Talked to him briefly earlier in the weekend, and he's got a long-standing partnership with Ferrari, with AF Corsa. And AF Corsa helped to place him in this seat. He's been so fast all weekend long. It appears to be slowly but surely chipping away at Michael Grenier.
Yeah, this is going to be the fascinating part of the race, where we get all of these pros on board in terms of the Pro-Am lineups. As we said before, if you have a Pro-Am entry, the Am has to do the qualifying and start this race. But you get to this stage, and then if we get a reset with a yellow, it will be fireworks, that is for sure.
Sister car from AF Corsa. Well, this is the M-Class entry, Jay Schreibman in, topping up on some fluids. And they're also doing some work at the right rear.
I think they're bleeding the brakes, maybe?
I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think they're just bleeding the brakes, and the man up front is probably just putting fluid in the master cylinder, I'd imagine. I'm not sure exactly what the setup is on the Ferrari.
Just past the halfway mark at Sonoma Raceway, Matt Siljahaug on an alternate strategy currently leads the way in his Lamborghini for Chicago Performance and Tuning. Then it's Mikhail Grenier, first of the Pro Class cars, and Fred Schandorf giving chase. Siljahaug putting this car through its paces. How much longer before this car will have to make the dive to the pit lane? I thought it might be there, but
that's his normal line.
Yes, all race long.
He did it the first time. He kind of faked me out a little bit. As he suddenly tried to dive into pit lane, now he's just realized you can just get a slightly better angle. Talk about looking at all of the small details there. That's tremendous stuff.
Change of position, and we've got a drive-through penalty coming. Or no, I take that back. It's a 30-second time penalty coming at the next stop, and that is for the erstwhile class-leading Pro-Am car, Jan Haywen, leader on his strategy for RS1. And what will that be for? It just says pit stop violation. So a little bit short on details there, but that will be costly. Also a penalty coming for Wright Motorsports, their car number 242. That's the Thomas Merrill, Therese Lalu car. Same penalty, 30-second time penalty at next eligible stop.
Yep, lots of lessons learned. You got to knock the rust off the off-season, some new operations here. Just trying to get used to the rule set. So this is the one where you want to, okay, learn the lessons today, come back stronger for the next event and the rest of the season. Don't keep repeating them. It's okay to make mistakes. It's repeating them where you're going to get frustration.
But as we talked about before, you just don't get mulligans this year the way that you used to. 7-point scoring opportunities instead of 13, I guess it would have been a year ago.
Yeah, so any mistake, any problem, any chaos that you have in a race, huge factor in terms of the championship scenario.
Whatever the issue was in the pits for Jay Schreibman and company, that car has left the pit lane now.
Well, you know, for Jay Schreibman, after what happened last year, he doesn't want to be getting in a race car where the brakes aren't feeling 100%. So this is going to become, I'd say, almost a little test session for Oz Negri to make sure that car is exactly where it needs to be before Jay gets back on board.
We were wondering what the problem was for RS1 on their most recent pit stop. Might be able to get to the bottom of it with this replay. Let's listen in as the car comes to a stop.
The engine.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, you got to shut the engine off.
Well, again, talk about newness, right? JP Martinez, his first driver change pit stop in this series. He's doing it. So many things you have to think about. Make sure the driver change goes cleanly, and that's one step on the checklist. Shut that engine off before you start to climb out so that the refueling can begin.
Yep, it can get pretty anxious behind the cockpit when you're coming in for that first real stop of the season. So little mistake there, but that's also in the team's hands. They need to remind a driver. You could have sat down in the transporter and talked it through a million times, but in the heat of the battle, sometimes the driver is so kind of frazzled that you just got to walk them through. Okay, hit your pit lane speed limiter. Do you know what I mean? 50 kph. Hit your marks. Look for the guy. Look for the paddle, or whatever the case may be. Turn the engine off and things like that. That needs to be a part of their routine.
From the lead of the race, here comes Chicago Performance and Tuning, right on time. Amanda, 4 minutes ago, said that this car would begin in 4 minutes, and it has arrived as expected. Looks like a driver change again, so they're going the Dollarhide route and cycling their drivers through. Nikolai Elgadian back aboard now.
See if he does a short one, and then just try and turn it over, because obviously they get Mads back in again. Long as there's more than 50 minutes plus when he leaves pit lane the next time around. So this could be a short 30-minute stint if they feel like Mads has got a bit more pace, which certainly so far today it seems like he has. No diss on Nikolai there. It's just that Mads has got a lot more experience.
This team executed to near perfection on their first stop. See what the second stop looks like. I take that back. They had a slow stop the first time. We'll check the time as they come across the line.
Meanwhile, serenely on their way is the leader, Mick Grenier, but he's got Freddie Schandorf laying down Done some really fast laps. Sits only 4.5 seconds back. This battle for the overall and the pro victory is not settled in any stretch of the imagination, because Shandor just took half a second out of that lead on the first sector alone. He is tearing up aboard the AF Corsa Ferrari.
Not a good stop either for Chicago Performance in tuning. 95 seconds spent in the pit lane. Still better than being under and copping a penalty, but it's 10 seconds you just can't get back.
I think some of that was just Nikolai getting the car fired up and out of the pit box. There's like a half a stall there, and he had to have another crack at it.
Exactly, that's what Amanda just messaged us. Little stall, cost them some time. Car's back out now.
Still a solid day for them. They've got to be really pumped by the performance of this Lamborghini and how competitive they are.
No question about it. When you look at the driver talent, I'm not surprised, especially to see Celia Haug be on the pace. He is always impressed every time we've seen him. Finished third in LMP3 and European Le Mans a couple of years ago. He's been quick in GTs here. Elganian, it was going to be a big step. Not sure how much testing they were able to do, but they turned up prepared to be on the pace. Exciting to see what that means for the future.
Looking at the screen there, you see that car in fifth, Tom Sargent. He just laid down a new fast lap of this race at 1:33.9.
Wow.
The best of the 34 car that leads right now is a 1:35 flat. That Porsche is absolutely flying. The GMG racing car is on the march. How far can he go with well over an hour to go?
And the table was set nicely by Kyle Washington, who started this car when others in the class have faltered, whether it's been on the track or in the pit lane. They've executed to near perfection and find themselves in a really strong spot in that Pro-Am class. Tom Sargent back for another year with Kyle. He's been coaching him for quite a bit now. And Tom is one of quite a few drivers, over a half dozen this year in GT World Challenge America, that are eligible for a new initiative from the SRO, the GT Academy, which offers a fully funded 24 hours of spa seat to 4 silver-rated drivers globally coming out of British GT, GT World Challenge America, GT World Challenge Asia, and GT World Challenge Australia. Eligible drivers must be under 30 years old at the end of the calendar year. What a great prize dangling in front of some of these young drivers, a chance to go race in the biggest GT race in the world.
Yeah, and it's not just based on results, which has obviously got an effect by your teammates, so it's all about your qualifying pace, your stint pace, and also your conduct off the racetrack. How much of a professional are you there? So there's several factors that will determine who's going to be eligible for that award. But what a great opportunity for youngsters like Tom Sargent. You've got to be under 30 by the end of the year, so on December 31st this year, you still have to be under 30 years of age. So that's keeping it real in terms of we want to give a young driver a great opportunity, but that will be fascinating to see those 4 drivers compete in 2027 at Spa.
And one will come from this paddock. Meanwhile, battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th overall starting to unfold. Hampus Eriksson at the front of this train. He's got Riley Dickinson behind. Riley, a former Carrera Cup champion. Just behind Riley is Colin Brown. Welcome back. Haven't seen him for a full season in a few years. Many years, though, alongside George Kurtz. He's back with the same family of teams. Riley and Kelly Moss linked together the last few years. And good to see him behind the wheel of a Porsche again. Kind of a throwback to earlier in his career.
Yeah, he did both races here last year with George Kurtz aboard the CrowdStrike Racing AMG. Had a pair of runner-up finishes with the Riley team. So, yeah, great to see him back. He's driven Porsches a bunch over the years. He's part of that Team 16 that competed at the Rolex 24 many moons ago now. That's like, what, 21 years ago. Colin's now 37 years of age, and that was aboard a Porsche. So, full circle.
Really cool start to his season, too. You think about the fact this is the 3rd different race car, or truck, actually, that he's driven so far this year. The prototype in IMSA, GT3 Porsche here in GT World Challenge America, but he also made his return to the NASCAR Truck Series, where he had some success when he was younger, racing on the streets of St. Pete back in March.
Yeah, I had to change my stat. I had 53 truck races written down. I had to change it this year.
54 now.
54, you got it.
And it had been I wish I could remember. I had for a time the number of days it's been since his last truck start. He did that when he was quite a bit younger, was an up-and-coming talent within the Ford driver roster. Made it as far as what's now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, second-tier NASCAR series, before turning his focus to sports cars. But cool to see him get the chance to get behind the wheel of a stock car or truck or whatever you're supposed to call those things, and showed really well. Actually was the top finishing Dodge in the street course race at St. Pete.
I won't say your statistics are detailed, Ryan, but you also had how many cheese and pickle sandwiches he's had between those two starts.
Don't ask how I know.
This is compressing here, so Hampus is dealing with, can we say hampered, by a damaged race car here. And he's got a couple of really fast Porsches coming up on his tail here. Curious to see will we see any discrepancy in speed here between the two brands, whether Hampus is having to really deal with something with that tail torn up a little bit. And also, as I mentioned before, the bouncing up and down is going to, you know, connect and release that downforce occasionally.
Seem like it's getting worse as well. Bodywork flapping a little bit more than we saw in the early stages of this, but give Hampus his credit. He's doing his best to at least hold station here. These are class positions that are up for grabs. 10th, 11th, and 12th overall, but Hampus is 6th in Pro-Am with Dickinson and Colin Brown 7th and 8th.
So understand that we talked about his brother Marcus potentially driving at the NDA. I would certainly love to see that, but he really supports his brother's racing. He's certainly made a commitment that he's competing today at Barber Motorsports Park, so couldn't be here, but on non-conflicting weekends, he's going to be in the paddock and supporting his young brother, so that's pretty cool.
When you bring Hampus's career up to Marcus, he just breaks into this giant smile. Absolutely the quintessential proud older brother.
Hampus is still living in Sweden, but there may be some intention for him to move to the Indianapolis area in the near future. Just wait and see what sort of racing programs he gets committed to.
Let's go on board with Hampus here. What do you make of his ride with this Random Vandals BMW?
The look here coming off this corner will be up in the 5th gear on the run down to turn 7. Like a double apex, a big sweep with a squirt of the throttle in between. It's the power down well, no issues there at this stage of the stint. Lift through that one and up another gear. That's complete sector 2 right there. 45 miles an hour down to about 50 minimum speed there. Try and use those curves without unsettling the car. Really just a continuation of the straightaway. We don't run the chicane. This corner, turn 10, is a real corner, let me tell you. Running that configuration before is an eye-opener. I'd say these upcoming corners are where that rear diffuser being adrift could give you fits.
Traffic now for the overall leader of the race, Mikael Grenier, who has caught, I think that's Zach Vanier, and that's a car that's going to be fighting to stay on the lead lap. They're in the same class. Vanier down in 13th overall, McCann Racing Team. But look at behind here, the blue Ferrari.
Flying.
He's closing in, lap after lap, just inching closer.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying, Freddie Schaundorf, and this is what we suspect, as we said at the start of the race. If Perez Compact can set the table, Schaundorf has got the speed here to make something happen.
Talked to him earlier in the weekend and asked him, what do you think about this place? He's done a lot of racing in the States, but he'd never been to Sonoma before. And he said, I love it. It's old school. It's challenging. You have to, you pay if you make a mistake. But he said, my mom doesn't like it so much. It makes her nervous. I think she likes tracks with more runoff, but little boy's quite happy here in Sonoma Raceway, and he's closing in on the leader.
Yeah, and he's very familiar with the Ferrari chassis, running in another championship here this year, so getting lots of seat time, and that just adds to his pace.
Find out the rest of this lap with Grenier. How much is he held up by the Porsche in front of him. Vanier's got decent pace.
He certainly does. He's got not want to go down a lap, so this is really important for Vanier to keep Grenier back there, and that's just going to help out Schandorf. So an interesting quote that Freddie's mum does not like his mum. His mum doesn't like him running on US circuits because she feels they're a little bit high risk with the high commitment factor, so she's nervous watching him compete this year.
Vanier up ahead, a new driver to the championship. Comes out of Carrera Cup, finished third in the title chase a year ago, won a couple of races. So many of those Carrera Cup drivers have moved up to GT3 this year, and a lot of them have found homes right here at GT World Challenge America. Vanier and his teammate, Michael McCann, they were racing against each other in that series a year ago. Now they're teammates, but struck up a friendship while competing against each other. And Vanier was selected for the very prestigious Porsche Junior Shootout over the winter, and is part of the Porsche Motorsport North America Junior program. And has been, I should say, when he was doing the single make racing.
Yeah, 3 years now on the Porsche pyramid. Met his dad the other day. He's a miner, been in that industry for be 25 years this April. They're going to celebrate on that day, that's for sure. 25 years in the same industry, and just really supportive of his son's racing, and really appreciative of the opportunity that McCann has given him this year.
Tom Sargent has been flying. He goes to the inside here of Sedgwick in the Mustang. Amanda did let us know during the last pit stop for the Dollarhide guys, they put scuff tires on. They have a set of sticker Pirellis waiting in the wings, so keeping the powder dry a little bit, but as we get deeper into the stint, that's where having to run on the scuffs could start to tell its tale.
Yeah, and some of those scuffs could have just done that 15-minute qualifying session, so even though they're used tires, they're not going to have the exact sharpness of a brand new set, but they're not going to be too bad once you get deeper into the stint. But yes, having a fresh set for that final stint, particularly if there's a reset. If we get a yellow, there's a compression of this field, but we're getting a compression of the field up front right now because Schandorf is getting ever closer. Now that gap to Grenier is under 2 seconds. So again, is Grenier getting thwarted a little bit by that Porsche sitting in front of him? Just that aero wash, even from a few car lengths back, can affect your performance.
Time ticking down, just over an hour to go. First ever of these new 3-hour races, new to GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS in 2026. Schandorf running down the leader, Michael Grenier, who has been trapped in traffic, although I can't say that that's necessarily the issue now. Vanier's actually pulled a gap over Grenier in the last couple of laps, and Schandorf just keeps on coming.
He does. He's on a mission right now. He's been absolutely flying, as you mentioned. First time here at Sonoma. He's taken to it very, very well. Team's got a great setup underneath him. His teammate did a really solid job there in that opening stint, getting that excellent mileage and stretching it there so they could get to that drive time being met with only a reset on the stint time on pit lane without taking fuel. So that was a huge strategy play that they had there. Got them in great shape. Definitely a threat for the win here. Both of these drivers are going to be looking to get to that 50-minute mark to go and maybe dive from pit lane pretty shortly after that. Otherwise, you're in the danger zone.
Is that the next shoe to drop strategically?
I think so.
Well, the pace is still in that car. Schandorf just did his best middle sector on that lap, and it's down to 1.4 seconds, 1.379 to be specific, at the last timing loop between the leading Mercedes and the chasing Ferrari. And Jan Halen, third overall, but remember that car owes a penalty at its next pit stop, 30 additional seconds. So Tom Sargent could be sitting in the catbird seat for GMG.
Yeah, just a great day, and as we mentioned, Kyle Washington's mother's here this weekend, so they've got a big day potentially coming up here if Tom Sargent can continue, and with Jan Halen having to serve that penalty. And to put in perspective, 50 minutes is the maximum stint length, so and then you're going to be on pit lane for a minute 25, so at 51:25 on that clock that you're looking at on screen right now, that would be the opportunity for any of these drivers to make their final pit stop of the day.
Most pressure that Gridney's been under in any of his stints so far today. And he's answering the bell. He just did his best first sector. Unfortunately for him, Schandorf was even faster. Only by about a tenth, but still. There's a lot of performance potential in that Ferrari. Talked a lot about Carrera Cup today, so let's discuss the reigning Pro Class champion, Ryan Yardley, who's doing double duty this weekend. Already ran a pair of Pirelli GT4 America races. Finds himself 6th overall, 3rd in the Pro-Am class, and he's actually reeling in the Dollarhide Racing Mustang. That is just ahead. That's not for class position, but Yardley is knocking down some quick laps.
Yeah, really fast young driver. Won the 2025 Carrera Cup North America Championship, 3 wins, swept the finale to make that stick. Really tight championship. He's now a Porsche Motorsports Select driver, so getting support from Porsche. I'll tell you what, Porsche have the game straight, right? They have these one-make series, and they can just see who's the cream of the crop, and then we'll just take them to the next level and potentially look at a full factory ride down the road.
Well, they've been doing that for years. They have the gold standard motorsports ladder system in sports cars specifically, but I think you could argue in general. And there are examples of drivers that have started at the bottom of the pyramid in sprint challenge competition and gone all the way up, even tested at the World Championship single-seater level in Formula E. Matt Campbell has made that entire path from sprint challenge racing in Australia. He's tested their Formula E car. He races the prototype at the World Championship level, all promoted from within the Porsche family, at least for now. In Matt's case, his future's a little bit unclear.
Yeah, then other manufacturers try and poach them.
But actually, when you talk to the higher-ups at Porsche, they take pride in that. They know they can't keep all of this talent to themselves. Inevitably, there won't be enough seats. And so
they have the pipeline, though. That's the key, right? You got guys like Lauren Heinrich who are immediately stepping up and fill in those slots that are left by guys like Mathieu Jaminet.
Precisely so. But what I do think is commendable about Porsche's approach is if one of their drivers gets an opportunity with a different brand, yes, you hate to see them leave the family, but also there's a sense of pride and support seeing them leave the nest, as it were, and start to fly.
Absolutely. Watching Yardley, the young Kiwi, again, navigate around this racetrack. Gradually inching up on Sedgwick. Gap now is about 4.5 seconds. Not a battle for position. He's going to keep pushing though, because there's a good chance that he's going to leapfrog over the 28 car when Jan Halen serves that 30-second hold on pit lane. So not sure he's got anything for Sargent here today, but nonetheless still a really solid run. Sargent's pace has just been phenomenal.
Trend continues that we talked about earlier. It's not a case of traffic now for Grenier. Vanier has scampered off, but nothing has arrested the charge of Fred Schandorf. Just getting closer and closer. It was 1.3 seconds last time we talked about it. 1 second at the last timing loop. How about now? Battle for the lead under 1 second. Just 9/10 of a second for first to second place.
Only a 1/10 of a second quicker on that lap. He's inching ever forward, and then it's going to come down to execution on pit lane potentially if these guys come in around the same time. A little bit further away from these guys, we've got a great battle going on between Jan Halen and Tom Sargent. That gap now is only 1.5 seconds, and that's not including the extra stop time that Jan Halen. So Tom Sargent has just been on the march ever since he got behind the wheel of this car. Kyle Washington kept his nose clean during the first phase of this race. Didn't start from the best qualifying spot, but nonetheless, really clean run for Kyle and setting the table for Tom to go and do what he does best.
Kyle started 13th overall, 8th in class. And when the pit stops cycle through, assuming GMG takes care of their business, this should be the leader in Pro-Am. And it's not been flashy. Oftentimes with Kyle, we're watching him because he's making these big, bold moves. That was not required of him today. Just needed to keep out of trouble, preserve the equipment, and put Tom Sargent in a position where he can do his thing. That's exactly what he's doing right now.
Yeah, that fast lap was pretty flashy. I saw it and couldn't believe my eyes. It's like a 133. Where did that come from today when you got the leader running 135s? Only a handful of cars in the mid to high 34s, so that is a monster delta to have over the rest of this field. Just see if there's anyone even close to him. Like 34.7s is the next best.
Wow.
Here we go, using every inch of the road there. Rubber is flying. That spent rubber sits on the side of the racetrack. Both of these boys pushing that up in the air as they get really close to that concrete wall to set up that flying run through turn 1.
It's 2 Porsches here, but 4 different brands inside the top 5. Mercedes, Ferrari, Porsche, Ford. And all the different classes mixed up together here too. This is for the lead on the track. How much are you willing to lay it on the line when it should come your way in the pit stops anyway?
Well, you assume that that message has been sent to Tom Sargent. Listen, don't risk anything right here. He's going to sit on pit lane 30 seconds longer than you on this final stop of the day. So if you're going to make a move, make sure it's clean. Don't risk getting a penalty, because otherwise you're on the back foot for the rest of the race. And Halen is savvy, though. He may try and tempt Tom into making a bold move here. He'll know the drill. Just to put it in perspective, Yardley sits about 11 seconds back, which is the next Pro-Am runner. So he should assume second once the 28 car serves their extra time on pit lane with the penalty. Still, a lot can go wrong as we just get under an hour to go in this race. As I said, 51 minutes and 25 seconds on that clock is the point when someone coming to pit lane, do the minimum stop time, and then be good to go.
Not far away now. Sargent continuing to hunt. Closing in, but is he willing to lay it all on the line? Again, Halen at RS1. Refueling with the engine still on, we believe, is the root of the penalty. That's what it sounded like. On our timing screens, it just said it was a pit lane infraction. But a long pit stop coming their way because of that penalty. 30 seconds extra added to their time in the pits. So this should see the lead change hands in the pits, but will it happen on the track first? We'll keep eyes on the battle while we do so. Let's check back in with Amanda now.
Yeah, we're down by the 32 Porsche for GMG with Tom Sargent behind the wheel currently. I actually walked down here to see if I could chat with Kyle Washington, more importantly his mom. They're at the track here somewhere watching along as Tom Sargent cruises in this Porsche. The team has told him that Jan Halen must serve a penalty, so to be secure and safe in that Porsche down here, when they come for that last stop, it will be a full stop. Tires, fuel, and off for Tom Sargent.
Good information for him to have. No sense taking an unnecessary risk if it's all going to come your way anyway. Look at these 2 cars, though. Both have made good progress throughout the day. Talked about Washington starting back where he did 13th overall, but Martinez too has made progress. 3rd in class, 7th overall in qualifying. And again, qualifying was a combination of lap times between both drivers in these lineups. When many of the front runners in Pro-Am have hit troubles here today, these guys have been able to avoid them by and large, barring that penalty coming up for RS1 during the next pit stop. GMG, though, in particular, has executed nicely. Good pace to go along with it. This could be a very special day for Sargent and Washington.
Yeah, could be a great way to start their campaign. Every event is a double pointer basically compared to last year, so wins a big delta, 14-point swing between first and second to build on as they head to Coda potentially.
We talk about the Porsche Pyramid, and it should be noted, Sprint Challenge has been racing this weekend also down in Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park. A lot of the Porsche staff watching on, cheering on their cars, but also some of the graduates of the Porsche Young Driver program. So many taking the step to GT3 here this year. adding a lot of fresh faces, some fun new liveries. And a big welcome to Kelly Moss to the championship. They're running a fleet of cars here this weekend across multiple classes, and no customer team runs more Porsches in North America than Kelly Moss.
It's incredible. I can't believe how many championships they're involved in. It's just a major, major organization. Great to see them in the SRO paddock in GT World Challenge America this year, along with some other entries in Pirelli GT4. So this is great stuff. Just a first-class operation. Lots of talent there, so much experience. They're going to make a real statement this year.
Should be noted, we should have had an additional car from them in this race, but a testing accident for John Gilliland caused damage to their car that couldn't be repaired here at the racetrack. So hope to see them debut at Circuit of the Americas. John was set to be teamed up with Luke Hartog, who has been an absolute star anywhere he's turned up around the globe, including a couple of times in GT World Challenge America, specifically at the Indy 8 Hour.
Shandov catching the Mercedes. He got close to him, but suddenly not making any further impression. I'm not sure if he's just getting some aero wash, or he just kind of used up his tires a little bit with that hefty charge and just thinking, okay, give me some fresh rubber for that final stint and then I'll go on the attack.
Closing in on the de facto window, opening up just a few short minutes away now. Here's the recovery drive, the back of this battle pack for Lorcan Hannafin, taking over for Jason Daskalos, the car that started on the class pole out of the JMF stable, but still running the same livery we've seen for the last few years for Jason Daskalos. It might be Jason behind the wheel now, that's what timing says.
Lorcan Hannafin has been on the march too. He just laid down a 134.5, so he's got within 6/10 of Sargent, as is Thomas Merrill. So really impressive run by Thomas here today in the Wright Motorsports Porsche.
I was talking to his co-driver Therese Lalu at Sebring last week, and she made the point, this is a big step for me, but this is a big opportunity for Thomas, who's been her coach for a long time. A guy that maybe if you're not digging deep into some of the data after races, you don't know how quick he is, but he's a really fast driver, and this is a chance for him to showcase that on a really big stage.
Seems like Shandov is willing to just sit there and hover. Hasn't really had a good go at Grenier. Hasn't really been close enough. He needs to halve that gap, I would think, to really be a definitive threat here into some of these brake zones. So again, just guessing at least that maybe he's just used the tires up on that Ferrari. He's done what he needed to do, be right in the game. This final pit stop execution, how close you want to run it to that minimum time on pit lane could be a factor here too. You could see a crossover of positions right there on pit lane by the time they come out again, and there's going to be a battle on fresh tires.
Under 53 minutes to go at Sonoma. Mikael Grenier with Fred Shandorf breathing down his neck. That's the battle for the lead with pit stops imminent. Not too far behind is the fight for the lead in Pro-Am. Jan Halen holds the position over Tom Sargent, but Halen will have to serve a longer pit stop, penalty coming his way for a miscue in the pits on the last pit stop for the RS1 team.
51.25, looking at the clock, is the moment when a driver can hit pit lane, do the 85 seconds on pit lane, and go out and not be outside that 50-minute maximum stint length. So we're getting really close to that. I'm not sure if the leader is going to be able to do it on this lap. It might be really tight. They might have to wait one more time. And once one comes, it really sets off the dominoes typically.
Tom Sargent aboard the E-Boost Porsche car 32, second in this line here, flashing the headlights. He's been among the quickest, if not the quickest driver on track for the last 15-20 minutes, has the fastest lap of the race, but he is aware that there's a penalty looming for the car ahead, and he's been quite circumspect, looked threatening at times, but never put the car in a compromised position.
I'll tell you one man who's going to be diving to pit lane as soon as he can is going to be Jan Halen. He wants to get that penalty out of the way. The last thing you want is a safety car and a compression. Before you've served that, you would tumble down the order.
It's a really good point. Mercifully, it's been
he
pretty
could come
clean.
this lap. He's coming. He must have been waiting for the nod from his team. They had to be sure that he was on the right side of that. They would have calculated it from the previous lap, but he needs to come. If he stayed out there, it went yellow, then there'd be a big compression. He's going to be sitting still for 30 seconds longer. He would plummet down the order. So They were sweating it a little bit for that.
But it stayed green. That's exactly what they needed. It's still going to hurt, but take the medicine now. Avoid that compression of the field. Now, a yellow helps them. It brings them back into the fight, whereas before it would have been a big setback.
Yeah, let's wait and see what happens here. Maybe there's a bit of a strategy going on here with Schandorf. Maybe he's been keeping his powder dry in terms of keeping a little bit of life in these tires. And he may wait for that JMF Mercedes to hit pit lane and then just try and do that big overlap moment where he's going to just have some life left in the tires, lay a really fast lap time down, come in and get back out in front.
Ryan Yardley also in the pits. Thomas Merrill in the pits. Looks like Nikolai Alganian also coming in his Lamborghini. There's a case to be made that getting in early is a good thing, covers you potentially from getting trapped if you're too far back behind the leader. I take that back, it'd be the opposite, wouldn't it? You risk being trapped a lap down.
Opposite strategy here. They're doing the undercut for Ferraris. They're doing the opposite. If JMF had come in, they may have stayed out.
I think this is smart, though, because it looked like he had pace in hand over the Mercedes. If you could get him out on fresh tires and get him in open track, hopefully he brings those tires up to temp quick.
Key is going to be, does Michael Grenier have traffic in front of him is going to hamper this in-lap potentially.
Here comes AF Corsa, one of the top teams in sports car racing globally, from the prototypes all the way down to GT racing, single make and GT3 like this.
Changing that drinks bottle there on the right-hand side, put that in. It's like a pressurized system developed by one of the engineers for Audi at Le Mans many years ago. Halen's in and out.
Yep, did his penalty. 30 seconds extra in the pit lane for RS1. Here comes Turner now. They've been on a different sequence from everybody else.
They certainly have. They're on the back foot here a little bit all day long with that track position based on where they qualified here today, so they've got some work to do. See the domino effect. Can't afford to get caught out, so for Michael Grenier, he's just hoping that there's not an issue on the racetrack with the safety car. This would have been hammer time for Michael. He would have known that Schandorf was on pit lane. It's like wring every ounce of speed out of this Mercedes before you hit pit lane. Comparison between this in-lap with the overcut and the undercut for the Ferrari, as Schandorf's going to try and get that Ferrari up to speed as quick as he can. And then you got to nail this stop.
This side of the JMF stable has been excellent with their pit work. They'll need to execute one more time. There's Schandorf making his way on the tracker around the lap. We'll see where he comes out relative to Mackay Stevens and Mick Grenier here.
With a clean stop, I would suggest that the 34 will keep the lead, and it may even have increased from what we saw last time they were on the track together, but Schandorf's going to be into his rhythm and going to be gradually building those temperatures. So Grenier may come out in front, but he may be vulnerable for a lap or two.
Mercedes into the pit lane. Up on the jacks. There will be a tire change. In addition to the fuel, might as well.
This has to be perfect. Any bobble here by a second or two could cost them the lead.
Schandorf through the S's now, making his way toward the chicane. He's already come through this section. There he comes. I don't know if that was traffic he had to deal with or if that was a car he was already ahead of. That could prove crucial, though. Riley Dickinson just behind. Out rolls the JMF Mercedes. Now he's got a bit of a trundle still to get to the exit line. Out of the 11th corner here for the Ferrari from AF Corsa. Schandorf is pushing out of the pit lane for JMF. Great pit work by that crew. It looks like they'll maintain the lead.
Yeah, as I suggest, you can see the lead is built a little bit, but it's going to be like watching Pac-Man right now with Freddie Schandorf. He's going to really gain time on this Mercedes, and Mikel tries to get some temperature in those Pirellis.
How good was the pit work for JMF? They were at 85 seconds and 12 one-thousandths of a second. 12 thousandths to the good.
That's what they needed, the perfect stop, and they absolutely nailed it. Well done, Danny Koch and the whole group there.
Normally, you would have said 85.6 would be pretty good for AF Corsa, but it actually cost them 0.6 of a second. Now, though, Schandorf in his rhythm and the tires up to temp.
What did he ask for? Did he ask for a slight pressure adjustment based on the balance he felt at the end? Because it certainly seemed like he was on the charge, and then that was stymied a little bit towards the end of that stint. So does he go a little bit lower, which means he may not be as quick here initially, but have more grip and ability to charge later in the stint. But once McKellar's got a lap of temperature in these tires, there will be no advantage in terms of that undercut for Freddie Schandorf.
The dangerous part of this might be over now for Mick Grenier. Nearly a full lap in, those tires should be close. Sargent, by the way, as expected, has shuffled his way up into the lead in Pro-Am.
Yardley has got ahead of Jan Halen, with Jan Halen having to sit still 30 seconds longer.
Cost them a position, well, 2 actually, from the lead down to 3rd. And the pit stop, by the way, for GMG, it was a good one, 85.4. Now it's in the hands of Tom Sargent to bring it home in the final 45 minutes. Race Vision, powered by AWS. Porsche rules here at Sonoma, and specifically Tom Sargent rules. How about this? 32, 32, 32. That's the car number fastest in each of the 3 sectors.
Got more colors there under his name than he has on the race car.
That's saying something. Oh, brightly colored car, and it just zips around this place. Tom Sargent, what a star GMG have found, and he's proven to be a great partner to Kyle Washington over the past few seasons.
It really has, and I think Kyle really enjoys that time. The chemistry is great. You spend a lot of time together. You eat dinner together. You're sharing the race car together. You're in the team transporter. You have to enjoy that. That's why guys like Kyle Washington embrace this sport, and that's why they do it and invest in it. And they need a great young teammate who can get the job done, get them to victory lane. This is a great little battle here. Robbie Foley's got really close to Cam Lawrence here. So Turner Motorsports trying to work all of the angles. I understand the Iceman Don Salama is not on site this weekend, so it's Eric Peterson making the calls from the pit box. Jay O'Connell at home this weekend. He's part of the Turner Motorsport engineering team as well. I'm sure there's a lot of texts flying backwards and forwards between everyone involved.
Well, for Turner, they dropped to the back at one point because they pitted under that first full course yellow. That cost them a lot of track position, but it's allowed them to play the strategic game. Their pit work on that last stop was impeccable, right at the 125 range. Meanwhile, the car ahead, the Dollarhide car, did a pit stop at 88 seconds, so 3 seconds over the minimum. That's helped this BMW inch closer here in the final 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think Dollarhide Racing have had a superb opening weekend to the championship season, but they need to tighten that time up on pit lane a little bit, because that could be pivotal in terms of these ultimate positions here and maybe a podium spot. But Cam Lawrence has been feeling it behind the wheel of this Mustang. Amanda said they had a fresh set of stickers, Pirelli P0s, to go on this car for the final stint. Foley's obviously got the same thing, and you got a really experienced driver behind him, Cam Lawrence. Cam's had a lot of success over the years. Won the Rolex in 2015, I think it was. Aboard a Viper, so almost a decade later, he's getting this opportunity now on a full-time basis.
It was on the heels of back-to-back Trans Am TA2 championship seasons in 13 and 14, and then that huge win for him in the Viper at Daytona in 2015. He's been bouncing around different programs, had a couple opportunities to go overseas and race, but this strikes me as one of the best opportunities to fall in his lap in recent years, and he's really clicking as well with his new teammate Alex Sedgwick.
Yeah, and he's had a few rides with Turner Motorsports, ironically, that he's now chasing down. I think he's on the pole at Detroit in GT4 competition a few years ago, so he certainly knows the Turner Motorsport Group and what they can bring to the table.
That would have been the memorable Turner weekend at Detroit. We'll leave it there. But yeah, right, that is interesting how cyclical this sport can be. You end up racing against people who used to be your teammates, who you used to share cars with. Let's hear from Alex Sedgwick now with Amanda.
And Alex, you guys elected to do kind of one-on, one-off and strategy here today. How will you summarize your time in the Mustang?
It's been good. You know, we came into this weekend a week with no testing, no real seat time in the car, so especially compared to the teams we're up against in Pro. We've had a lot to figure out and learn this week, but I think it's showing we're doing a good job. We're on the podium right now. Turner are a really good team. Foley's good, so it's going to be hard for Cameron in the last 40 minutes or so. But I think for race one at a track that probably isn't the best for this car, we can't ask for much more.
Nice job, Alex and Ryan. I know you guys pointed out some of the slow stops for Dolehite here today. Scott Dolehite, as team manager, has been here overlooking all of those. I talked to Alex about that off camera. He said that as they get up to speed as drivers, it's also a team effort as well.
That's part of the learning process. And again, you compare last year to this year, what a difference 365 days make. Here it's about cleaning up the little things. Last year there were some pretty major errors that set them back, and you have to expect some of that with a new program, a growing program, and they hope to have a second car to run in GT America later on this season, possibly as soon as COTA. Get Scott back in the car so he's not just team manager.
Yeah, that would be fun to see. But yeah, it's just the details, and I like the attitude of the whole group there, that they're taking it on the chin as a team. Yeah, we need to sharpen some things up, but we've had a great weekend, as he said. A month or so ago, both drivers didn't really know if they're going to be in this program full-time for the year. That came together. Didn't do any testing. I think the car did a shakedown at COTA, as I of course saw that on social media. But it's a new car as well. I mean, this isn't the same car that you drove last year, or the team had in their hands last year. It's the Evo kit. Seems to be a much better piece, much more comfortable piece, bigger operating window, more downforce on the race car with the Evo kit. So Ford have done a great job in bringing a much sharper car to the table for this year, but nonetheless the team's got to learn what makes it tick.
I could be proven wrong, but a cursory search tells me if they can hold on, it would be the first podium for the Ford Mustang GT3 Evo globally. I don't believe there's been one in IMSA. I don't believe one raced in GT World Challenge Australia this weekend. So unless I'm missing something, that leaves this program as the first to potentially hit that milestone.
That would be awesome. Be a big one for that group.
Sure, somebody out there will tell me if I'm wrong, but it's the risk you take when you do a 30-second piece of research and then put it out there on television for anyone to hear.
Look at this gap there. We saw Shandorf's teammate, young Perez Compact, there sitting on the pit box, just observing the time, seeing if his teammates got anything for him. So he had a huge charge on that third stint of this race and closed the gap on Mick Grenier. But then Mick kind of stabilized that. Ferrari couldn't get really close enough to have a shot at taking the position. And now, since that pit stop, they were a little bit sharper on pit lane. JMF extended that gap. They did the overcut. That worked out well.
There's Thomas Merrill. You called attention to him earlier with the good pace he demonstrated. This is a good day for this debuting program. Thomas right now, 6th in class. Hampus Eriksson just ahead. This would be for class position. This would be for a top 5. Stay on board with Thomas as he chases down the wounded Raccoon, the Random Vandals BMW.
Commitment that takes. You see where these drivers are placing these race cars right on the edge of the road as they turn into these high-speed sweepers, trying to maximize the radius every step of the way. At the same time, the track may give you grip in a different area of the racetrack, but Hampus is doing a really nice job hanging on to that damaged BMW. Tuck that Porsche. The Porsche seems to be really good on the front end here this weekend, seeing a number of the drivers being able to really hug that carousel rather than running the big wide radius through that sweeping corner. See there as well, as very responsive on the front end. He's tempted to cut it in there and try and just dive to the inside the 7B, but at this stage of the game with Hampus on relatively fresh tires, there's not enough of a delta, a difference between the two cars to make that move.
Or Hampus, even if it's not the line that your car prefers to drive on, you have to think about tightening that up a little bit as we get deeper into the race, because that looked awfully inviting from on board. Well, that's something Hampus will have to consider as we continue on. Here comes the battle roaring by. BMW, Porsche, and joining into the fun. Looks like it's the delayed car of Lorcan Hannafin.
He's been quick, but unfortunately they're down a lap with the penalties that they had to serve on pit lane, so it's going to be a question of leaving here and what might have been. Unfortunately, there was so much promise coming in this weekend. As soon as they jumped on board, they realized they had a really fast car, put it on the Pro-Am pole here this morning. This battle is compressed here a little bit. Foley's got ever closer to Cameron Lawrence here aboard the Ford Mustang.
Yeah, Robbie's looking threatening here. Feels like he's got that car working for him. First season racing in the top class for Justin Rothberg, who started the car. We had the great look from on board with Robbie Foley, didn't we? Back at the top of the show, and he talked about keeping a tight line through turn 11, able to do that there.
He's his third up here over the hill in turn 2. About 110 miles an hour approach speed. You see, really turned in with a lot of speed through here, then float it up over the top. It's blind right there. He said, fortunately, I'm a little bit taller, so you can kind of see over the top. You're almost like stretching your neck when you come up with some of those briars, just trying to eyeball the racetrack a little bit sooner. Different line there into the carousel. Robbie elected to run that little tighter line. He talked about some of the patches through there when I spoke to him the other day as to the preferable line there. He likes to keep that right side off the patch as it loads through that corner. These guys will know each other well, having worked under the Turner Motorsport umbrella together over the years. But that all goes out of the window. There'll be respect, but there'll also be passion to be that final car on the podium here today. Seem pretty evenly matched. I don't see any big concertina effect around this racetrack, where one car has a huge advantage over the other. Bit of a restrictor change on the BMWs this year, so that's something that's got to be factored into their BOP for the season. So they're working with the technical department here at SRO to explain that situation, how that evolved. As we mentioned, Mercedes and the Porsche did get a little bit of a BOP hit after we saw qualifying times this morning, but the Ford and the BMW were left alone, so they're running in the same trim that they qualified in this morning.
33 minutes to go. Grenier leads still overall and in Pro. It's still Sargent over Yardley in the Pro-Am ranks. Am class headed by Oz Negri and A.F. Corson. They've been delayed by some issues in the pit lane, but still out there, still turning laps. Oz the last time around was running in the mid-136s. Front runners down in the low 35s at the moment, but this becomes, it's trite to say, but a bit of a test session, right? When you're not racing anyone but yourselves and you've had some miscues anyway, or at least something that caused them to spend an extended period of time in the pits. So just kind of feeling things out and setting the table for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and they obviously had that brake issue. They're bleeding the brakes midway through the race. I'm not sure Jay has been back in the car other than that opening stint, so we'll have to check on that. And with only one car in the class, I mean, they may elect, if they think there's any issues with this race car, to just suffer whatever the penalty may be if he's showing his drive time anyway. I don't think it's a disqualifiable penalty.
Jay has been in a couple of times from what I can gather. I think he's okay.
Okay, good. Recall him getting back in the car, so that's all been ticked. That box has been ticked.
Yeah, from what I'm looking at here, it looks like he did a nearly 45-minute stint to start and then did basically 40 minutes in the car, so I think he's right where he needs to be.
I know he got out early and I didn't see him on that second stint. I didn't recall anyway.
Here comes this fight once again. Interesting, we got a pit stop here from Archangel. That's the McLaren that ran at the front, or toward the front at least, of the class early in the going. Had some kind of an issue in the pit stop early on. And Darren Seelitz, Todd Colbin, they'll be ruining this one, is one that got away, given the pace they've shown all weekend.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed because they were so buoyant when I spoke to them this morning that they had a really fast car now with that fresh engine on board for this season. And both drivers did an awesome job in qualifying this morning.
Now, this is a fascinating little group here. To some degree, you can discount the Mercedes at the back of this train because they are a lap down relative to the rest of the pack. On board with the second car in line. This is Thomas Merrill, still working on the rookie, making just his second GT3 start anywhere. Hampus Eriksson with a wounded car, doing just enough to keep Merrill at bay.
Yeah, think about the depth of this field. You got Riley Dickinson sitting in P8 overall, Hampus Eriksson, Thomas Merrill, Colin Brown, Matt Silliard, Vanier, Hannafin, who's had like the second or third fastest lap in today, then Teelers, then Negri, Bamba. There's some really solid names when you make a list like that.
It's the beauty of this championship. Yes, a lot of the field is made up of Pro-Am cars, but the pros in those lineups are frequently a part of factory lineups or pro lineups in other championships around the world. It is spectacular when you get all the pros in together, as we saw in qualifying 2 earlier today, and we're seeing right now here in this final run to the checkered flag.
Yeah, super competitive field. Seems like all of the brands are pretty evenly matched. We'll go to a different circuit the Americas. There's sometimes horses for courses, a car that performs well here, maybe on the back foot just a little bit, but it seems like all of the cars are really raceable in somewhat in the performance window that they're looking for.
Again, you look at the diversity of the manufacturers in the top group: Mercedes, Ferrari, a couple of Porsches and a Ford, then a BMW in 6th. So 5 of the top 6 are different brands. Porsche has strength in numbers this weekend and probably will all season long, quite frankly.
Yeah,
But
you had
good
7
mix.
Porsches in the field, 3 BMWs, 3 Ferrari, 2 Ferraris, 3 Mercedes, a Lambo, a Ford, a McLaren, and a Chevy. So Chevy obviously didn't take the start with Suez Povoleto, but even so, great to see those manufacturers. Oh, some dust flying there. That was tough there for Cameron to see if there was going to be a car there. Nearly allowed Foley to pounce there on the entry to turn 4.
Robbie is close again, and it does seem like maybe the handling's getting away on the Mustang deeper and deeper into the stint. Here comes Foley, keeping it nice and tight to the apex through the carousel. Opens the hands to let it roll out wide, up and over the curbing, but not too far. That said, the Mustang got a good jump out of that corner, and not under any particular threat down to 7.
It's got good mid-range punch, doesn't it, the Ford? Seems like that stretches the BMW, whereas in years past we've always kind of seen that as the strong suit for the BMW, so maybe a switching of the guard in terms of who's got the most straightaway speed right now.
I was about to say inarguably the best sounding car here, talking about the Mustang, but tell you what, that Lamborghini Huracan, I still love the scream of the V10. Glad that it's not been put out to pasture quite yet, even with the new car debuting last week at 12 Hours of Sebring.
It's got a very different sound with that 4-liter V8 turbo. The Temerario.
It's a great looking car though, and we'll see it racing at GT World Challenge Europe this year, a few other places globally. But this is still very much a place that Lamborghini would like to see the Huracan run, and they can support customers that answer the bell like Chicago Performance and Tuning has done. That's another team that, if not for a few miscues in the pits, might have factored in for a podium, if not more, in the Pro-Am class. Let's look at this telemetry live, comparing and contrasting the Mustang and the BMW.
See there, it seemed like rolling mid-corner speed. Maybe Robbie was a couple of kilometers up on cam there, mid-corner speed of the carousel, but it seems to middle part of the straightaway, Cam, maybe gaps in my, not significant, I'd say maybe half a car length. So Robbie's working the angles here, just trying to see if he can fire this car off with a little bit more acceleration run off of turn 7. You saw him take a slightly wider approach that time. Both these drivers really hitting their marks, both on top of their game.
Under 26 minutes to go. Mikael Grenier, Fred Schandorf, 1-2 overall. It's a 2-second gap at the front of the field. Sargent leads in the Pro-Am class with Yardley giving chase, but then you find this battle here for 5th and 6th overall. It's the final step of the podium in the Pro class. Cameron Lawrence for Dullahite Racing in the team's debut in the top class, up against Turner Motorsport. Robbie Foley, a two-time champion the last 2 years in the Pro-Am class here at GT World Challenge America, moving up to Pro for the first time with his partner Justin Rothberg.
There's nothing much between these two right now, is there? There's a long way to go in this stint, though. Still 25 minutes. You're only at like the halfway point. It's going to be the real key. Cam there, a little bit off, it looked like, just coming through there. Looked a bit awkward with the angle of the car as he left that corner. Robbie may be a sniff closer on this time through the carousel.
Talked about the fact it is the updated version of the Mustang. Improved aerodynamics, kinematics, braking, all targets for that upgrade kit. All things you would really like here specifically. This is a track that should be in the wheelhouse of this Evo version of the Mustang.
Absolutely, as Mackay Stevens watches his teammate. Almost like brothers now, the two Micks, as I call them. Keep Freddie Schandorf at bay, and he's now extended that lead up to 2.3. So I'll be really curious to get some feedback from Freddie after this race if it stays the way it is as to what happened, because he was on a charge there, just really steamed up on the tail end of that Mercedes right before the pit stop. Then he got within about, you know, a second, 3/4 of a second, couldn't get any closer, and then just since this pit stop, maybe there was a balance adjustment that JMF did with their tire pressure starting on this final set for Mick Grenier, but either way, he seems to be in control right now.
Purely theoretical, but we do know some teams have had to run scuffs at times during this race. Maybe that was the case in the previous stint for JMF. They were able to throw stickers on it here for the final stint. Just me guessing, but...
Sounds very logical to me, Ryan.
Looking for some explanation for it. That said, don't really need to explain away good pace out of Mick Grenier. He is a pro's pro in a GT3 car. Tom Sargent earning that reputation himself. Back for another go-round with GMG, running an endurance calendar in IMSA this year once again. So he would have been on that podium with team owner Adam Adelson last week at Sebring too.
Yeah, no, he's a real talent. Just worked hard to come over here, ran in Carrera Cup, and shared the shop with DXDT. Got to know those guys and girls there. Got the opportunity to run the Indy 8 Hour and showcase what he could do with that group. And then got this opportunity with Kyle Washington and GMG, and grabbed it with both hands. Just it's amazing how just little things you can suddenly bump into someone or be in the right place at the right time, and just opens up your world in terms of a driver's career. Great to see, he certainly deserves it.
Last year on the podium on 2 occasions, Tom Sargent and Kyle Washington. The year before that, they did have a win. That was at VIR, I believe, winning class. There's team boss James Sofronis.
His son had a great run in GR Cup today.
Yeah, career best 5th, Jensen Sofronis. He was right there in the battles too. Had to keep his wits about him. Drove like his old man. Not that I'm calling you old, James. He'll love this. Longtime customer Kyle Washington, and the partnership just continues to flourish with Tom Sargent. 21 minutes, 47 seconds still to hang on. This hasn't changed at all since we checked in the last time. It's still Hampus Eriksson holding this train at bay.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job here. This for a top 5 finish, which after the damage early, I think Random Vandals, Hampus, and certainly Derek de Boer would be super happy with. He's got his hands full though. He's got 21 minutes, and you'd have to wonder with that damage to the race car, is that affecting his tire life a little bit? Is the car going to slip and slide a little bit more? You don't see it so much from outside the race car, but he'll be feeling that subtlety. Is that going to affect his final bit to the finish, the last 5-10 minutes?
I haven't talked much about Riley Dickinson here today, but this is a strong day brewing, not just for Dickinson, but his co-driver Todd Perriott. Dickinson, a Carrera Cup champion back in 2023, and it went down to the season finale at Circuit of the Americas last year where he battled it out with Ryan Yardley. Yardley's got bragging rights in this one today. They find each other as opponents once again in 2026, this time at the GT3 level. And Riley's had a few chances to race GT3 Porsches in his career, but never anything more than a sporadic start here or there. He was telling me early in the weekend, this is the chance he's been waiting for the last several years.
Yeah, this is awesome to see these young guns going up against it at the next level. They wait and wait and wait for these opportunities, and they got so much speed. And they adapt so quickly. I think simulation really helps a lot of these young drivers kind of accelerate up the learning curve and be prepared, but total pro.
Spent the last 2 seasons as the Porsche Motorsport North America selected driver, 24 and 25. Mikael Grenier, the overall leader, makes the pass on Silja Haug in the Lamborghini. That puts that car a lap down to the overall lead. We were wondering about tire strategy, Amanda. What can you tell us?
Well, they're certainly not making it easy for me down there. I went to 7 different people with JMF to see if I could get the answer. Mackay Stevens wouldn't give it up. Talking to the engineer, he wouldn't give it up. He said, we want to keep that to ourselves. John Farrow looked right at me and he said, it's not over until it's over, Amanda. We can't reveal our secret.
Well, everyone is trying to figure out the best way to approach this new format. So you have to understand why they'd want to keep the cards close to their vest. But if they're not going to tell Amanda, they're not going to tell anybody.
Wow. Yeah.
I thought she was going to be able to winkle that out of just about anyone up and down the pit lane.
She made a lot of people cry over the years in the post-race interviews, that's for sure. But yeah, she's digging deep down there, trying to get all of the angles on what the strategy play has been today for those leaders. But yeah, everyone's keeping their cards close to their chest as early days with this new format. So, but you know, all of the teams will be looking at the data following this race and just seeing if there's any wrinkle that they didn't think of. I think one thing's for sure that helped is that you got 2 drivers aboard that 34 car that are pretty evenly matched and both have tremendous speed and poise behind the wheel.
I'd say on paper, when we were chatting about this coming into the year, this was the lineup that certainly I would have tabbed. I won't put words into your mouth, but if you were looking for a championship favorite in the preseason, considering they were second a year ago and it was Mackay Stevens' first year of GT3 racing, you thought the ceiling was there for them to grow into being a championship contender this year. But as the season progresses, it should get closer and closer as some of the newcomers get more experience racing at this level. Schandorf in second overall, not really losing touch with Grenier. The pace has stayed about the same, but closing in perhaps a little bit is Sargent. He's chopped a few seconds off over the last 10 minutes or so, sitting about 8 seconds further back at the moment.
Yeah, it's just been a tremendous drive by Tom here today, but they can see the race progress over the course of this race so far, and with the Schandorf car coming from deep on this field all the way up to challenge for the win. But at this point, looks like Grenier's got it under control, but you never know. And here's Sargent here cutting his way through traffic inside Darren Thielitz there. He's on pit lane one more time, so I'm not sure if there was an issue with the race car or it's just the way they carved the cake here today in terms of their driver stint lengths. But nonetheless, Tom has just been immense. He has been very quick all weekend long. Didn't qualify that well based on the combined average between the both drivers, of course, but once he got behind the wheel, he just set the timing sheets alight.
Sargent, in addition to being an excellent race car driver, pretty mechanically savvy. Back in his Formula 4 days, he did all of his own prep work, or at least a lot of it. Always helps when you have that understanding of what makes the car tick, not just the feedback it gives you while driving, but understanding the mechanical components of it as well.
I think it really does when you're related to a team owner or you know, an engineer, if they've had time behind the wheel, that certainly helps responding to a driver's needs. And even not just from a technical standpoint, but also from an emotional standpoint, understanding what a driver goes through when they're not having a great day or when they need something from the race car.
Giving chase is Ryan Yardley, trying to keep up with Sargent, trying in many respects to follow in his footsteps. Another Antipodean that has come stateside for opportunity. It's so far paying off in a big way for Yardley. First onto the scene through Carrera Cup. Has quite a few different opportunities here this year. Giving that car a really good run. A second place result for Yardley and Dave Musial 2.0, as Dave likes to be known. Would be a phenomenal opening gambit here in this brand new season. Great looking car too. So many of these new cars have striking liveries.
Spectacular, yeah. Really, really cool. I think we've seen that in other championships this year, that you can just get such a fan following by developing this brand with your race team. The merchant, if they got any merchandise going on with it, but that would be pretty cool too. Fans will lap it up.
I think you're right. Yardley got his start racing in the Toyota 86 Championship down in Australia, very similar to the GR Cup that you see racing on SRO America weekends. Won the title there. Did some single-seater racing. First came to the US actually to drive open-wheel cars. Did Formula Regional Americas for a couple of years, then made the transition into sports cars. Carrera Cup in 23, plus made an IMSA GT4 start that year. Runner-up in Carrera Cup in 24, came back for a third year to go for the title and got it done last year. That opened up the opportunities here for him to go GT4 America racing, GT World Challenge America racing, among other things, including 24 hours of Daytona debut earlier this year. So look at the current stints. Everybody should be on the right side of that without risking running up against the 50-minute maximum.
Yeah, and basically at the end of the 3 hours is when that stint time ends. So it's not like, okay, you click the clock and there's still 2 seconds left, so you have to do another lap. Your drive time stops at that point. So you add 13.5 minutes or so to all of those times. Everyone's well in bounds, it looks like.
Top two, by the way, in the Pro-Am class here. In the Porsche cars, these are the two Porsche Motorsport North America selected drivers for the year.
Yeah.
In Sargent and Yardley. Talked about it earlier, but Porsche is a brand that knows how to identify talent and promote it.
Hey, this battle has pretty much stayed right there ever since these boys came out of pit lane for the final time. Foley's on a double stint, Cam Lawrence on a single, having taken the reins over from Alex Sedgwick, who did a superb job on his debut with this Ford Mustang, and been a bit of a change here. Looks like Hampus Eriksson has finally had to succumb to the pressure from those two Porsches. We wondered whether the damaged race car would be affecting his downforce at all.
Whoa, that was...
We hit him, he clipped him.
Merrill has to be happy there wasn't a bumper on the back of that BMW, or that could have been massive. As it was, still some contact and damage to Merrill's car, and Colin's been able to follow him through.
Must have been bugging him like he wanted to just trim a thread off or something. He's been following it for so long, a piece of clothing. That could have been ugly.
Yep. Haven't seen anything about that being under
nose.
review.
Yeah, you see the nose has just kind of got a splice in it. As he carved underneath the tail of that BMW.
Will that leave him vulnerable at all? Because Colin Brown is the next car in line.
You know, Colin's going to be digging deep. He wants to be ahead of that Porsche in front of him. He's got his other teammate, Riley Dickinson, one position further down the road, but not going to catch him today.
Got an onboard shot of the incident. See what Thomas Merrill saw one lap ago as he tried to get around Hampus Eriksson.
Oh, a little bobble there. Hampus is in trouble. That was just hard racing there, but you could see Hampus on the entry to turn 3, and I thought about this earlier, Ryan, where I thought, well, maybe with a damaged race car that'll affect the tires later in the stint, and definitely had a little slip there, didn't he?
He did indeed. Fought gamely, didn't he, with a wounded car. He never got a chance to race that car in prime condition. They picked up damage very early on. Contact that brought out the first and to date only full course yellow of the race. That ended the day for Slade Stewart. Derek DeBoer was in the Random Vandals car at the time. He was able to continue on, but they've been dealing with the rear diffuser damage ever since. That's cost Hampus a couple of spots, down to 7th. Car behind him is a lap down, so no reason to get the elbows out too wide at this stage. But Lorcan Hannafin, he's trying to salvage something here for the second JMF car.
He's displayed a lot of pace here today and certainly a lot of potential, so I think they'll rebound. I think Jason Dasco certainly learned a lot today. He did report to Amanda that that pit lane speed thing was because he came into the pits in 2nd gear instead of 1st, so that immediately overrides the pit lane speed limiter, and that's why he had that penalty.
Under 10 minutes to go at Sonoma Raceway. Mikael Grenier leads Frederick Schandorf by 3 seconds in the Pro Class and in the overall standings. Then in Pro-Am, Tom Sargent, who has taken away some 20-25 seconds from the leaders in this stint. He's now within 8 seconds of Schandorf. He leads it in the Pro-Am class, and by a healthy margin over Ryan Yardley, who's giving his car a good run as well. There is Schandorf, but now we have to wait, and there's Sargent. We don't have to wait nearly as long, though, as we did, 15-20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think he may just run out of time, because it would have been fascinating to see if he'd go for it in terms of that overall position whilst he's holding down the lead in Pro-Am, but he's been carving 7/8 tenths of a second a lap out of that gap to the 2 pro leaders in this field. And Kyle Washington just says, we are looking good. We are looking good. Fingers crossed, see if they can bring it home.
Could be a 2-podium day for Kyle. He finished 2nd in GT America to Memo Gidley. Congratulations, Memo. A sweep of the weekend for him and Ski Autosports in the single driver sprint format race earlier today. Got the job done in his stint here at GT World Challenge.
He's flashing his lights. He's trying to get every possible 1/10 of a second out of this race car every single lap. Just really a dominant performance here in the Pro-Am class here today for GMG and Tom Sargent.
Lapped car up ahead. That is the delayed Matt Siljahaug. They've had really strong pace today, but didn't quite have the pit lane execution you would ideally have. But first race for that program, plenty to build from. Looking ahead to the next round at Circuit of the Americas.
See what Tom does here. He's really quick through the carousel. Tends to run a slightly tighter line, as we've been seeing his teammate do over the course of this weekend. He's really tucked in there. That Porsche seems to have such a good front end on it. Look at that hugging the curb coming off there, and it's got the grip and the balance underneath, no twitching as well, so the rear end is stable despite running that really tight line. Mads give it to him, let him continue his charge here, see how tight he can get to the leaders before the checkered flag here this afternoon.
We've seen Mads do that a couple of times, haven't we, since they've been delayed. Meantime, 3rd class is the AM class. Oz Negri, the veteran, will take this car to the checkered flag. Jay Schreibman got them started. Had their ups and downs today, and not just the elevation change around Sonoma Raceway, but they'll be happy to see the checkered flag after a difficult weekend for them here at this track a year ago.
Yeah, very much so. Just great passion within that group. Oz is a total pro, loves his racing, loves to show Jay Schreibman the ropes, and Jay's had the discipline. As he said last year, it's all about gym and sim. Be fit enough and do the prep, so when you get to the racetrack, you are ready to make it happen.
It's especially true these days. These cars capable of such high cornering speeds. The G-load, even in a GT car, would probably, surpass some of the prototypes of a few decades ago?
Yeah, absolutely. They really develop a lot of downforce now. They're highly sophisticated cars, and I think from an AM, it's really important. You know, these cars are physical to drive, so you don't want that to take away from your focus. If you're starting to fall apart in the car because you can't hang on, suddenly your focus is going to be affected as well. So that then affects the mental side big time. So it's so important that you're training well and prepped. And also nutrition on a hot day like this. You got to prep the body, and Oz is on top of that, and certainly have Jay doing the same thing.
Let's give a call to Cameron Lawrence here, making his GT World Challenge America debut, doing it with the Dollar Height Racing team in this Mustang, and he has spent the majority of this stint trying to fend off the challenge from Robbie Foley, a multi-time champion in this series. I'm not sure that that Mustang is handling quite as well as it was earlier in the day, but Cameron's been able to hang on to it well enough to keep Foley at bay.
Yeah, his last lap was a 35.2 that compares to a best of a 35.0, so that's really strong pace this late in the stint, and that's probably got Robbie Foley scratching his head here a little bit, like, I thought it started to fall off a little bit, but super consistent, and that set of sticker tires may have paid dividends here at the end.
Foley is in and out of GT3 BMWs seemingly every weekend throughout the season. He knows his way around these cars and what it takes to make them go fast. Cameron Lawrence, by contrast, yes, he's driven this style of car before, but he's bouncing around GT4, Trans Am, you name it. Definitely at an experience deficit at the GT3 level to Robbie Foley, and yet his talent is shining through.
Absolutely, he's done a great job. I do think that the Ford has a little edge in the power stakes here, but that's taken nothing away from what Cam's doing behind the wheel. He's really done a super solid job, as did his teammate.
Back up the hill once again, down to the final 5 minutes. Just a handful of laps left to settle this. Robbie Foley, is he content to hold station here in fourth, or will he force the issue, trying to get the final step of the podium? What a motivation that must be to get the chance to spray champagne on the first weekend running in the Pro Class with Justin Rothberg.
Yeah, Cam and the family have had a lot to celebrate. They got another baby on the way. I think it's due next month. It might be around Coda time, so we'll wait and see. His wife Morgan said she was going to be here this weekend, but he said she's struggling in the last few weeks. She's ready for that baby to jump out and give her a break, but great family, really quality people.
Helps that race at Coda is their effective home race for the family. Cameron not from Texas originally, but it's where they call home.
And for the team, right? He
Correct.
lives there only 20 minutes, I think, away from their race shop, which is great.
Yeah, he was telling me he was waiting throughout the off season for confirmation that the program was going to happen, and at a certain point he just had to stay away from the shop. It was getting frustrating not knowing for sure what was going to happen. Felt like it was likely, felt like things were coming together.
Foley probing, looking for an opportunity, but Cam has not blinked right now. Yeah, and I think when you're in that drive, getting back to what you said about being at the shop, you want to show that how much you want it, but you don't want to be a pest.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Bill and Scott were trying to make some big decisions there, and obviously Cam didn't want to let the opportunity go away.
Little bobble there, maybe. Foley closing in.
Foley's car looks pretty solid here late in the go, and I would suggest that Cam's car may be moving a little bit more than the BMW at this stage of the run, but he doesn't have to hang on for much longer. Time is running out for Foley here. Right there is where I see it, like that mid-range acceleration. It really seems to gap the BMW a little bit, and then it takes all of the pressure off by the time he gets to a brake zone. There you see it again, little wiggle there down through the hill.
Okay, if that's the strength of the Mustang, where does the BMW claw that little bit closer?
Well, it looks like it's pretty stable here. I think Robbie's done a great job of managing the tires here, and they've done a great job of the setup to give him the balance there, but he's never really close enough to be in position to make a move, even when Cam's had a couple of little bobbles here.
Last time in the run to turn 11, you saw Robbie pop out rather suddenly. Hadn't seen that from him before. Just trying to get into the mind of Cameron Lawrence. Spill the mirrors.
So. Yeah, he's trying any trick in the book right now. He knows that time is not on his side. I think he was hoping that the tires would dig a little bit more on that Mustang and have a better opportunity, but Cameron Lawrence has done a superb job of managing everything perfectly. Foley tucks that right front onto that painted curb there. That's where the rubber gets laid down. It gives you that grip to hook yourself around that really important corner to launch down the front stretch.
This lap and one more for the race leader, Mikael Grenier. The lead has come down in the last few laps. It's down to 1.6 seconds now. Fred Schandorf starting to inch closer, but is it too little too late with just a lap and a half to go?
Yep, certainly it's keeping it interesting here. Doesn't think there's going to be too much traffic involved here to throw a curveball at Mick Grenier. Schandorf has just kept the hammer down. He's kept the intensity there, and it seems like the car's stayed really strong here in the later phase.
And not for class position, but it should be noted, Tom Sargent is now only 6 seconds behind that battle for the overall lead. His pace has been breathtaking. As Mikael Grenier comes around turn 12, he'll see the white flag. 1 lap to go in the season opener for GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS.
Gap at the stripe was 1.39 seconds. Sargent now just 5.9 seconds back of that lead duo. Grenier's just got to hit his mark. There's Sargent. What a blistering performance this has been here this afternoon.
In the car that qualified 13th overall, they've made their way not just to the top 3 overall, but the lead in the Pro-Am class. What a great day this could be. First GT3 win in a couple of years for Kyle Washington, who did a great job at the opening stint, and then Tom Sargent has hit it out of the park in his opportunity. Down the drag strip for the final time for Grenier, the Canadian, won the Bathurst 12-hour earlier this year to jumpstart his 2026 campaign. Fred Schandorf announcing his presence in this series for the first time in a big way, dragging that AF Corsa car forward throughout the middle stint. Couldn't quite match the pace of the Mercedes early in the final stint, but he's not too far back, just over a second now.
You see Tom Sargent there flashing through in the backdrop as well. Not going to get close to those two, but what a tremendous performance. And Mick Grenier has really controlled this during this final phase of the race.
1 year ago, JMF Motorsports debuted at the GT3 level, and they won the first time out. Mikael Grenier, Mackay Stevens, history repeating itself in Northern California. Grenier through turn 12 for the final time. JMF Motorsports will celebrate race win number 1 of 2026. Grenier and Stevens take the victory, and in Pro-Am, Tom Sargent and Kyle Washington from 13th on the grid. They finished 3rd overall, and Pro-Am honors go to that team. GMG Racing will celebrate.
Yeah, but the finish was under a second between Grenier and Schandorf, so Schandorf was trying to keep that Ferrari right there, but didn't have quite enough.
We still are waiting for Ryan Yardley in the 4th placed overall car. Such was the gap between the top 3 and the rest of the field. A few others have filtered across the line to see the checkered flag. Now Yardley has done so. Here we watch Oz Negri take the car home. Jay Schreiben got them started. Oz Negri will finish the job for AF Corsa M Class to Negri and Schreiben at Sonoma. Everyone came into this weekend not sure what to expect. Not sure we've learned anything definitive yet through just one race, but Circuit of the Americas coming up next. The second of these new 3-hour races. Have to believe just the experience here of going through the process once, everyone's going to be that much further along the line when it comes time to race it next at COTA.
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty straightforward strategy for the winning teams here, but certainly some other teams are trying to play with some options. Didn't quite work out that way, but I'm sure everyone will dig into that and see if there's a better way of skinning the cat. But again, as I said before, when you got 2 very equally matched drivers like Grenier and Mackay Stevens, it makes that strategy a lot simpler for JMF. Just slice the cake up however you want to do it, do really clean pit stops, and you should be good to go.
There's Sargent on the cool down lap, running offline, picking up the extra rubber, helping with the ride height clearance, helping perhaps with minimum weight as well. Winning team owner is standing by with Amanda.
So so proud of you.
He said what a race that was and said it was a little too close for comfort with that Ferrari, John, and you were over on that wall celebrating as Mikel Grenier came by. You said, now you can breathe.
Yeah.
But forever, JMF Motorsports is the owner of this first round in this 3-hour format. How much pride is in that for you, John?
Oh, this is unbelievable. I have no words. I'm kind of choked up right now. That's all I can really say right now, Amanda. I'm still in shock.
As John takes in this moment, guys, I can officially say I've gotten the release from the team. It was stickers for the last stint for Mikel Grenier.
Can't hurt them now. Might as well share that information. That helps to explain why the pace difference leveled off. But that said, Schandorf came on strong at the end of that stint. To wit, they end up just 9/10 of a second apart at the checkered flag. Stevens and Grenier, though, draw first blood for JMF and for Mercedes. Mercedes going for yet another Global Manufacturers Championship. They're undefeated in that since the award was unveiled in 2018. They, of course, are those second place in their debut in the Pro class and a strong run to third in Pro, a podium in their first race in the top class. The first global podium as well for the Mustang GT3 Evo to Dollarhide Racing's Alex Sedgwick and Cameron Lawrence.
Yeah, great run for those boys. They'll be super happy to build on that as they go to their home circuit for Dollarhide Racing.
Washington and Sargent with the bragging rights in the Pro-Am class. Good job by GMG Racing. They were perfect in the pits when many of their competitors faltered. Wright Motorsports in its return for a full season at least. With a strong run to second, Musial and Yardley, debutants both, and they'll be on the podium. Martinez and Haywen, despite a pit lane penalty, still maintain a podium finish. They come home 7th overall, 3rd in class, and should mention Jay Schreiben and Oz Negri, 16th overall, but AM class honors to that AF Corsa pairing. Cars have made their way back around, and for a lucky few, they get to park it in Victory Lane here at Sonoma. Mikel Grenier, the Canadian, out of his Mercedes, will be joined shortly by Mackay Stevens and the rest of the JMF team. Chance to celebrate a job well done. Execution couldn't have been much better this weekend.
No, he had to be a little bit concerned when he saw Freddie Schandorf kind of closing in on him with that second to last stint, but he seemed to have it under control. They did the overcut there, and from that point forward, he seemed to have the gap that he needed.
Excited to hear from the pair of them for sure. And in fact, I think we could do it right now. Amanda Busick has made her way to Victory Lane. Let's hear from our winners.
Well, we just talked to John Farrow about the end of that race and that hard-charging Ferrari that was coming for you, but I also got word from the team finally to release the news that you guys had a sticker set of tires there at the end. But talk about your view of that for Ferrari.
Yeah, we decided to start on a sticker set for Mackay to try to stay in front of the Ford, as they are super quick in the straight, and it's also probably the worst track to overtake this year. I think it worked, but on my first stint, everyone was on sticker tires, so it was a bit difficult, and I had a back marker for the whole stint in front of me. I know we want to stay on the lead lap, but that was a bit frustrating, so we killed the tire a bit, but in the end was fine.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is a gentleman who's been there, done that. He's not fazed by much, not overly impressed by much. This is the job. He came out and he did it.
You can see, though, these boys worked hard here this afternoon. As we talked about, the temperatures here a little bit more extreme than we normally see here in Sonoma. It's just been a perfect weekend for the fans and everyone enjoying the beautiful weather, but for the drivers, a little bit more work on a circuit like this where you're really hectic behind the wheel. It's a workout.
That was Tom Sargent. You're right. You could tell the exertion on his face. And the look there at Oz Negri, too. Still fit as a fiddle, but it was a warm afternoon in Sonoma today. Let's hear from our winners in the Pro-Am class. Tom Sargent is standing by now.
And Tom, that Porsche looked pretty lethal here today, and you just came alive in it. I heard that Kyle Washington is making his way to you. I heard him and his mom were watching from hospitality, but to get this first win of the season in Pro-Am, what statement does that send?
It's the dream way to start the year, right? It's what we came here to achieve and what we want, and it was a lot of unknowns coming in with this new format. So for us to be able to do this straight off the bat is a really good confidence boost for the team. Unfortunately, we couldn't quite get the win last year, so it's good to turn up this year with the new format and get it done. Big hats off to Kyle, though, best I've ever seen in race in his life. Consistent, no mistakes, and fast the whole way. So couldn't have done it without him. Hopefully he's on his way down here in a second, and he can celebrate with us too.
You set the fastest lap here today, broke the 134 barrier. Does your team tell you things like that?
Yeah, it's always a bit of a tick in the box as well to get that. The team did an amazing job. The car was obviously lethally quick. Rodolphe, the engineer, did amazing. Tate, the team manager, putting it all together, and the crew guys. One of the best cars I've ever driven, and it's a privilege to drive it around here, and obviously to take the win is super cool.
You're up for a chance this season to compete with other drivers for a shot at Spa next season. Does that go through your mind?
Of course. I was fortunate enough to do Spa last year, and what a hell of a race that is. So to be in the running and eligible for that, hopefully I can get back there next year.
Nice job, Tom.
He made a good step toward it, for sure, when you think about the different components that go into deciding who wins that award, and lap time is a big part of it.
Yeah, it certainly is, and off-track behavior, and he's a total pro, such a smart young man, and he ticks all of the boxes, and if they awarded that today, he would be the winner by a long way. So, but it's going to be a challenging season. There's going to be other teams coming back at this group.
We heard from one part of the pro class winning lineup. Let's hear from the other now.
Makai, I feel like our interviews are always full of such wisdom, and you look at the weekend coming in, though, but just to take this win, you won on debut last year, but you win in this new format. The pairing between you and Mick Grenier, just the energy between you guys, where does it come from?
Again, it's the same side of the coin no matter where it lands. You want to flip, you want to land it on heads, you want to land it on tails. Either side you choose, we're both in it for the long haul. And it's yet again, a testament to this organization, the opportunities to be here, all within SRO, Mercedes-AMG. Just what a lovely way to kick off the season, one that we're going to be digging really deep for.
I'm sure our drivers had so many different experiences out there in this new 3-hour format. What was it for you?
Oh boy, it was a roller coaster ride for sure. I certainly made a handful of mistakes that I'm going to look to improve upon moving forward. I told the fellas I missed the pit box on my way back because my leg hurt so bad, but we'll hit the gym and come back stronger.
We'll see you at COTA.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Driver that has worked so hard for every opportunity that has come his way. A lot of others might have given up along the way, but not Makai Stevens, and the faith is being paid off in a big way. Heard from a couple of the classes. How about the AM class pairing, Amanda?
Yeah, you're reigning world champs in the Ferrari and the AM category, getting the victory here in Sonoma. And Oz, you look a little beat up a little bit. What was the Ferrari around here today?
Actually, it was pretty hooked up. The car was really amazing. We had an amazing pace, especially at the end. I think I did only one lap above 35, and at the end it was like low 35s. And could keep up with the pros ahead. So, what we need more M guys. We need the competition so he can push us harder. I have to thank Jay. Jay did an amazing job. Huge jump step performance-wise from last year. And I can't ask that anymore from him.
All right, AM drivers out there, you heard the plea from Oz Negri and Jay. You were not secret that you do not like this track, and you just wanted to go out and have a nice, comfortable visit here at Sonoma. How excited are you for COTA?
Looking forward to COTA. This was fun today. Had a little problem with the car, so glad that didn't end badly. The brakes went, but my team did an amazing job, got us back in the race. Oz did a great job finishing, and on to COTA. That's a fun track. Looking forward.
Nice job, guy. Kyle Washington has made it over to the podium for celebrations, and I think we also have to find his mom. Mom, I think you're going to have to come to every race now. Why was she your good luck ticket today here?
This is my mom, Phyllis, Amanda, dear friend of mine, and the most amazing announcer in motorsports. This is her first race, so
and he's my firstborn, so of course it's the winner. He's always first.
A little pressure, I guess.
How proud are you of him today?
Oh, I want to cry.
I love it.
Now he's got a protege to live up to.
All right,
a beautiful celebration for the Washington family.
You could let the mom know she wouldn't be the first to cry in a victory lane interview with Amanda. Amanda's got a way of bringing the emotions out of folks when they're at the highest of highs.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that passion down there and the emotion involved. And get back to Oz Negri, talk about these lap times. I mean, he ran a 35.2, only 4/10 off Freddie Shandorf, who we were raving about. Yeah. So that is a major, major statement for Oz at, would you say, 62nd birthday on the way. So that's incredible stuff.
Yeah, right you are. Really awesome. And I would echo the sentiment. There's a place in this paddock for a double bronze lineup, and these guys have been flying the flag for it for a couple of years. Expect to see at least one more taker at COTA coming up in the next round. But you know, if you're on the fence, it's a lot of fun, as you heard from Jay just a moment ago. Let's hear from the guy who probably is the most proud of all. Amanda, you found Greg Gill.
I have found Greg Gill down here in all the celebrations. I mean, look at the fans behind us as we get ready to spray some champagne here in Sonoma. And Greg was telling me that he caught the race first from down on pit lane when we first started. Then you were in race control and in the SRO trailer. But this was your crazy idea as we kick off the 3-hour format. How satisfied are you seeing this?
Oh, beyond satisfied. First of all, thank you to all the fans for being here. Incredible attendance. Thank you, guys. It's been awesome. But to the teams and drivers who believed in it, all the new people who joined us, we thank you. It's been fantastic. Can't wait for COTA. Can't wait to come back to Sonoma.
Congratulations.
Thanks again.
And guys, we had the largest regular season field here today. I did hear from SRO that we have an additional 3 cars coming to COTA. So there we go on the competition as the 2026 season fills out.
Yeah, this is just the start and a good place to build from, no question about it. And wonderful to see so many fans make their way out to the track here this weekend as well. Hope they had a great time.
Do you want them to start podiums?
Opening race of the 2026 season. It happened at Sonoma Raceway in Northern California. Moments of apprehension on the grid as the field of 18 got ready to take to the track for the first 3-hour race in GT World Challenge America history. It was Mackay Stevens leading the field to the green, challenged early by Alex Sedgwick in the Mustang. Challenges here for a couple of BMWs. It was the end of the day for Sparkle Farts and Slade Stewart. Hampus Eriksson, Derek DeBoer able to continue on, but their Random Vandals BMW was heavily damaged. On the restart, Stevens again had to fend off the challenge from the Dollarhide Mustang, able to do so. Close contact racing between a couple of Porsches further back. Then coming through the pit stop window, battles here between Ferrari and Mercedes. It was the Mercedes that came out on top. This was a really good scrap here between Matt Siljahaug and Justin Rothberg. Maybe a little bit too much contact there, but both cars were able to continue on. That was a change for position just before the pit stops started. AF Corsa in its debut in the Pro Class on a different strategy, different sequence to JMF, but it was great pit work by the Canadian team to get their Mercedes out first. Mikhail Grenier bringing that car up to speed as quickly as possible while Fred Schandorf trying to run him down. Deeper into the stint, Thomas Merrill closing in on Hampus Eriksson. Made just a little bit of contact up into turn 4. Both drivers able to continue on. No penalties handed down. It was a victory for JMF. In the Pro Class, GMG took the top honors in Pro-Am, and AF Corsa scored the victory in the season opener with their Ferrari in the AM class. Wrapping up an exciting day of racing in Sonoma.
Racing Ford Mustang, Alex Sedgwick.
Podium celebrations underway. Just heard the Dollarhide teammates, Alex Sedgwick and Cameron Lawrence, called to the stage. First podium globally for this new generation Mustang, the GT3 Evo, delivered by the Dollarhide team. Probably the smallest team running one of these Mustangs anywhere on the planet, but they get the job done.
Great day for them. I think these two drivers like peas in a pod. They seem to have great chemistry. They got very evenly matched lap times, and the team has come such a long way in 12 months. Hats off to Bill Dollarhide and the whole group there.
Certainly so. Great start to build from. They'll celebrate this, and it was a hard-earned podium. Lawrence had to fend off the reigning and two-time champion in the Pro-Am class, Robbie Foley, who was right there for at least 45 minutes.
Yeah, he did a great job, just didn't miss his marks, never made that little error that would open up the door for Robbie. He was pushing hard. He wanted to be on the podium to start their campaign as they've made the move up to the Pro category for 2026.
Matthias Perez compact, good stint from him, and then Fred Schandorf climbed aboard for AF Corsa to take home second place. But at the top of the box, Kai Stevens, Mikhail Grenier, they know a little something about winning here at this track. John Farrow will join them up on the stage. Emotional when Amanda talked to him. Wasn't entirely sure just how much of a presence they'd have this year in SRO America, but they're back in a big way. Big weekend for them on the touring car side of things, and then running two programs for the first time in GT World Challenge America to come up with an overall win. Remarkable stuff.
Yeah, it's huge. Had that single victory in TC and a runner-up finish the next day. Have a tie for the championship lead over there. And then certainly a great performance in qualifying by putting the sister car on the pole. There was a couple of snafus on pit lane, but Jason Daskalos, Lauren Hannafin were going to come back. Look, and Hannafin will come back even stronger, I feel, at COTA.
Few of them that have to be leaving thinking, what if? That's one of those lineups that ran at the front of the Pro-Am class. You've got to throw Archangel into that conversation as well. They were super quick all weekend with their McLaren. Chicago Performance and Tuning, if not for a few slow pit stops, it seemed like they had the pace to contend for a podium today too, and that was their GT3 debut.
Yeah, some really great performances throughout this field, and that really bodes well for the season. There's a lot of cars. We've got more cars coming, as Amanda alluded to, for the next round in Texas in about 3 weeks' time. So lots to look forward to. Some teams celebrating early, other teams frustrated by what happened here today, but they'll bounce back even stronger, I'm sure, as this season moves on.
Trophies lifted up on high, posing for the photographers assembled just down below our broadcast position. And it's about to be champagne spray time. Kai Stevens immediately gets out of the firing line. Mikhail Grenier, again, nonplussed. He doesn't get worked up about anything.
Where's my wingman? He bailed on me.
He did.
Had two men in this fight here today, even on the podium.
Well, good start to this pro class, which again features 5 entries from 5 different manufacturers. So look at points leaving the opening round. These points might end up being doubled, actually, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll read them off as they are presented. 25 points to the winners, Stevens and Grenier, Schandorf and Perez Companc with the second place finish. They are second in the standings. Sedgwick and Lawrence in third, but then you find Turner with Rothberg and Foley, and McCann Racing in its return to the championship. Really first time in this guise, first time in quite a while, let's put it that way. Vanier in particular showed really good pace in his stint. Excited to see what that team can build into with a little more experience. Well, of this group, of course, coming away with the win, Stevens and Grenier, that's the position you want to find yourself in, but no guarantee just because you're strong here at Sonoma that carries over to Circuit of the Americas.
It doesn't. The key is when you have a strong race car at a certain racetrack, that you got to sort of execute and make sure you grab those, because you never know where you're going to go to, or you may be on the back foot, so they certainly did that here today.
Not quite to the same extreme, but maybe you could put RS1 into the what might have been category, because they had that penalty, 30-second penalty for the final pit stop that at the time they were leading. I'm not sure anyone was going to hold Tom Sargent back, but that said, at least a second place seems like it could have been in their grasp. Instead, they settled for third.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they had a really solid day. Certainly Martinez seems to be the real deal, so he's got a great teammate in Jan Halen. His history and career speaks for itself, so they're going to be tough to beat in this championship. But Tom Sargent, he was a man that could not be beaten here today. He was just incredibly fast behind the wheel of that GMG Porsche.
Only driver to break into the 133s in terms of fast lap in this race at a 133.936. Just remarkable. We'll see him joining Kyle Washington at the top of the box. Should give some kudos, though, to the second place pairing. Under the radar somewhat this weekend. Didn't do a lot of talking about Ryan Yardley or Dave Musial Jr., but there they are. Kept their noses clean, and they got a strong second-place run to show for it.
Yeah, great points to start off their championship campaign, so it's going to be fun to watch some of these youngsters go hard against it all season long. As you said, 2 Porsche Select drivers there, finishing first and second in this category here today.
Team representative joining the GMG duo up on the stage, on the rostrum. Kyle Washington, first GT3 win in a couple of years. I can't imagine what the celebration is going to look like tonight in the Washington household.
That will be a fun one, that is for sure. It may go on a while.
Let's go on for the next round of photos. Porsche definitely looked strong here at Sonoma Raceway. Other manufacturers, though, that impressed you? We got three Porsches on this podium, but I thought at times Lamborghini looked quite strong, and there were a few others that probably factored in too.
Absolutely. It seemed like the BMWs may be on a little bit on the back foot here this weekend, but I'm sure they'll come back stronger as the season moves forward. I thought the Ford had an excellent day when you think about Dollar Height Racing not testing with that car and coming out with the podium straight out of the box. So that is really, really cool for that group. They've got to be excited about their potential for the season as they develop the car a little bit further, get used to that aero kit. They're going to get faster.
Totally agree. Points leaving Sonoma in the Pro-Am class. And a little clarification, manufacturers' points are double, drivers' points are not. That's because there are double race weekends for manufacturers in different championships, so to equalize the points you get across the board when you have a single race weekend like this or GT World Challenge Europe, you get double points there. But for the drivers, it is the traditional SRO scoring system. Washington and Sargent by 7 points over Musial and Yardley, Martinez and Halen third in the points ahead of Dickinson and Perriott, Lalu and Merrill 5th place, leaving Sonoma, Brown, Clark in 6th, DeBoer and Erickson in 7th. Speaking of manufacturers' points, this is how it looks globally after a pair of races in Australia and this race here as well. Porsche with the advantage by 7 seconds over Mercedes-AMG. Ferrari just 1 point back in 3rd. Audi Sport, despite not scoring points here in America, is 4th, and then McLaren in the 5th position. It's a great weekend to get the season started here at Sonoma. Coming up next, around at Circuit of the Americas. Hope you join us there.